All right, we're live. So what I want to do here is talk about some maze stuff, but I feel like it will be easier to understand my perspective if I read this fluble storyline first. It's not too long. Anyway, I'll zoom in a bit. This was made back when there were less pixels on a screen. Hey there, Barry. Brian, viovis.
Yes.
All right, you're a little loud. I'll turn you down.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Glad you could be here with us today.
Okay, cool.
All right. I'm going to start reading now. This is Occam here. This is Flubble's hallucinatory gargoyle. He breaks the fourth wall somewhat. And this is Clown, Flubble's girlfriend. I'm not really sure what's up with her eyes. I don't think that's ever really explained. The world is a magical world full of places where the impossible is possible, where the merest flights of fancy can become reality in a heartbeat. This story is not about one of those places. Floor 36, floor 37, floor 36B, floor 36C, floor 37B, all stop. Please hand your elevator waivers to your floor's elevator waiver supervisor and have a nice day. 3 years ago, an electrical efficiency consultant recommended the elimination of elevators throughout my company's building. We were each given elevator waivers, waiving the elevator usage rights outlined in our contracts. No one could use the elevator without signing a waiver, which was to be handed in to elevator waiver supervisors stationed on each floor. All of us still use the elevator. Our elevator waiver supervisors never made it to our floors. None of them have elevator waivers, so they can't use the elevators, and no one can use the stairs until elevator usage is discontinued. Somehow it all made sense to us at the time. Pass this memo to Goldman. I can't do that without a B826 memo redirection form. But I'm asking Goldman for a B826 memo redirectional form in the memo. In that case, you need a VQ1227. Please stamp your duck and send it to accounts receivable. My name is Clown Coinian. I'm about to lose my job for reasons I can't explain, and be upset about it for reasons I can explain even less. Help! The water cooler's on fire! Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? Gotta stop the tardiness, Clown. Those 3 minutes are gonna cost you come evaluation day. Hi, Clown. Hi, Hugin. So, anything new? Lohman got fired. Lohman? You're kidding. They say he got the lean report. Bah, the lean report's just an urban legend. Hi, Schuster. How's your family doing? I sold him to the firm to increase my productivity rating. Still on the fast track, huh, Schuster? Exactly, because I've got drive. That's what got Lohman fired. Not enough drive. It wasn't some mythical lean report that makes anyone who touches it lose their job. Awooga, awooga. The lean report. Gasp, gasp. I call his desk. Next, the lean report. Schuster gets the dreaded lean report. Schuster, just process it like any other file. I can't. The envelope is only double stamped. I'm not even allowed to open it. Opening a double stamped envelope is grounds for termination. Then send it back to records. I could do that if it were single stamped, but not if it's double stamped. Returning a double stamped envelope is grounds for dismissal. Warning, warning, loss of productivity in sector J15. Well, you have to do something. Just skip it for now and get on to something else. I can't go out of order. I have to clear all documents in the order I received them. Going out of order is grounds for verdinization. I don't know what that means. Schuster, what is the meaning of this? You are 2 minutes behind schedule. I'm sorry, Concrete Head. It's not my fault. The report is silence. No excuses. The firm of Wolf, Haberman, imposing monolith and Wolf is sorry to let you go. No! How long have we had a functioning portal to hell installed here? The janitor put it in last week. I can't believe Schuster's been fired. He got the lean report. End of story. They say there's 300 names on the back of that thing, and every one of them was fired inside of 5 minutes of picking it up. Is that Schuster's severed leg on the lunch cart? Don't be ridiculous, Hugin. That leg is Hammond's from accounting. But isn't there anything you can do when you get the lean report? Sure, start marinating your leg. Hammond's looks all tough and stringy. Didn't look that bad. Burble took a bite a minute ago. Flubble, what are you doing here? We dropped by to bring you a sandwich. My 5-minute lunch break's almost over. That's okay. Burble ate the sandwich. I forgot about it. My bad. Here, have some Hammond. Fluble, this is not a good time to visit. One of our team just got fired. How did you even get up here? I worked here for a week back in 1986, and I've still got my ID tag. How did Burble get in then? He disguised himself as a bag of corn flour and crawled up the elevator shaft. Look, you guys can hang out here in the break room if you want, but I really have to get back to work. We'll be getting tons of extra work now that Schuster got sacked at the lean report. You mean the same thing they just put on your desk? Ah! You sure you don't want him? He's tasty. Next, panic. The lean report strikes again. I don't get it. What's so bad about this report thing? It was approved incorrectly. It can't be processed, it can't be sent back, and it can't be gotten rid of. It hangs around your neck like an albatross until your productivity rating drops to 0 and gets you fired. Hey, getting fired's not so bad. You can be like me. Ah! Oh, my poor sweet clown, stricken in the prime of her life. I call her desk too. 0%. Oh my God, they're coming for me. Cornian, what is the meaning of this? Oh God, it's the concrete head, and he's got the downsizers with him. Mr. Head, it's not my fault. The report is... Silence! No excuses. The firm has reviewed your performance and has decided to... He just stopped? Everything just stopped. I pulled the master brake, shutting down everything in the building. Let's see him fire you now. 5 minutes later. For your lapse in productivity, you will be fired. But for allowing the firm to be shut down, you will be banished to the Phantom Zone for 6 million years. Thanks a lot, Fluble. But for those 5 minutes, you were completely unfireable. Next, the partners. Koinian, you are hereby charged with and convicted of the crime of inefficiency within the firm of Wolf, Haberman, Imposing Monolith, and Wolf. You are allowed a statement of up to 70 words before sentence is carried out. All right, then. Which of you approved this stupid report? Disparaging a report is a fireable offense. Consider yourself double fired. This report was improperly stamped, making it officially stupid. Oh, very well then. You shall only be fired once. Look, I wouldn't have been fired at all if the partner this was approved under had stamped this correctly. I should be able to process this if the partner initials it, so who am I looking for? That is the lien report. Yeagler's work. Yeagler? Who's Yeagler? A heretic. A bungler. He deserted us, abandoned the cause of the firm. Yes, Yeagler was a founding partner in this company, but he betrayed us by vanishing one day and never returning again. And what day was that? We're not sure, but we didn't notice he was gone till 1985. That's the year Maze was published. But if you can find him, initial the lien report and return it to us by 5 p.m., we will reconsider our decision to banish you from this dimension. But where is he? I mean, those 70 words are used up. Crap. 71 now. Mockwell, have you heard of a guy called Yeagler before? Clown, you weren't fired? Oh, thank God, I was so... Shut up, Hugan. Yeah, I remember Yeagler. Disappeared back when I joined the firm. Well, do you know where he went to? Rumor has it that he disappeared into the depths of the building, down in sub-basement 23. We have 23 sub-basements? Apparently the firm stores a whole lot of ostrich feed down there. Thanks, Mockwell. Gotta run now, but I'll be back by... No, wait, this is important. Fluble, play the tape. What tape? I didn't give you a tape. Why would you? I don't even know you. Okay, apparently it wasn't important. Well, if I don't get the lien report to him by 5, I'm fired. Koinian, you're supposed to be working. If they catch your desk empty, you'll get fired anyway. Well, Fluble and Burble can come up with something. I've got to get gone before the concrete head shows up. Where the hell is Clown Koinian? I'm Clown Koinian. And what about him? I'm Clown too. Oh, carry on. Next, Elevator Man. And that's it, because he never finished the storyline. Did other things instead.
That's it?
Yes, unfortunately. I should actually get in contact with him and see if he can finish it. Maybe with my help. Anyway. Oh, you're screen sharing something too, aren't you? What is this?
Oh, just your screen.
Why are there bells? Have the bells come back?
Oh, goodbye, bells.
Oh, they're leaving again. Well, just don't keep the door open, bells. That's what lets us the cold air in. Where's... Okay, here we are. Alright, so now we're going to switch to screen sharing. Da-da-da. And mispaint. Hooray! All right then. I'm gonna make this smaller.
Look at all them pages.
Yeah. So this is oh, accidentally maximized it again. This is going to be a discussion of how I think you're supposed to sort of split the pages in Maze in half. You can ignore that first one. I'm not really sure about that. This one is. Why do I have that backwards? Oh, these are all backwards. I'm dyslexic, so there's a lot of dyslexic people. It's a minor disability, I grant you, but it's one that could be taken more care to account for. You know, like left-handed people have their own stores where they can buy certain things. But so anyway,
I do everything with left hand.
Oh, you're left-handed?
Yeah.
That's probably why your brain regions are randomly rearranged. About 50% of left-handed people, this is according to something I read, have brain regions that are the same as a right-handed person's but flipped. The other half of the left-handed people have brain regions that are basically just sort of randomly rearranged. Nobody really understands what's different about them. And they function the same as most people do, but with some different quirks. You know, the regions that neighbor each other are different, for instance. So there's weirder or less common overlaps between things. Like my friend Steve has I think a weird arrangement of stuff because he gets into this loop. Well, in any case, that's well off topic. Point is, when you look at stuff, different sides of your visual field, the left side of your visual field in both eyes goes to the right side of the brain, and the right side of the visual field in both eyes goes to the left side of the brain. So the different sides of what you're looking at go to different parts of your brain for processing. And this means that whether things are flipped left or right can change the way you perceive them, even if they don't have a chiral meaning the way, say, words and numbers do. You know, and obviously if you flip words and numbers around, they mean different things to us because we read left to right, and you know, a P and a B and a D and a Q and so on. These are different symbols depending on their orientation, which I find annoying. But there's also stuff like faces. Like if you look at a face and then you look at the same face but flipped, you may perceive it as having a different expression just because different parts of your brain process different parts of the expression. Like for instance, I think there's a part of our brain that still processes emotions the way that we used to back before we gained human mannerisms, in which, as with virtually all other animals, they don't smile showing their teeth. Baring the teeth is a sign of aggression. Humans are sort of unusual in that we do that. It's unclear why we started. I think maybe the smile could be seen at a greater distance, same reason we have whites in our eyes, which is also unusual. It lets other people see where we're looking.
Unless we wear sunglasses. And even then.
And even then?
And even then, sometimes you can see over the tint of the glasses.
Oh, yeah. Certainly. Of course, then somebody might have a lazy eye, and who knows. But so my theory is, and you know how there's a left brain, right brain thing where the different parts of the brain process things differently. And it's actually much more complicated than that. I mean, you can't just cleanly divide it that way. There's all sorts of complications. I think of it more as the primary language processing center versus the auxiliary one. But whatever it is, regardless, I think the idea here in Maze is that different halves of the page divided along the line, which sort of varies in its position from page to page, are supposed to be processed by different parts of the brain to different ends. And in some of these, I'm just sort of guessing. In this one here, I think the line is here because these doors here have the light shining on them. These are the ones that are supposed to be sort of obvious to conscious attention. And then here are in the shadow. Like if you were looking in through this doorway, you wouldn't see these as much because they're sort of, you know, they're off to the side. They're like hidden over here where, you know, if you were looking in, if this was the doorway. So Which actually, if you map these, I just tried to gesture with my hand. If you do map this wall to that wall, as though this were your left eye looking in, then this would be your left eye. So this is sort of going into your brain, specifically into the left side of your brain. But I mean, who knows, really? I find it difficult to believe that people really have strong associations between left and right when gone through this many permutations, but it may be that most people do, and I'm just a mutant in that regard, and I don't. I easily get confused.
That's okay. I didn't even see the pictures in the doors.
Oh yeah, another interesting thing here. Apple, bottle, cup, drum. Obviously this is A, B, C, D, but this bottle here, and if you observe it closely, we can see the neck of the bottle is pinched. We can see the top of it. We can see the mouth of the bottle, right? Whereas this bottle here has a decidedly fatter neck, and you can't see the mouth of the bottle.
Oh.
Manson has an attention to detail. Christopher Manson, the author of the book, has he's very attentive to detail, this intricate cross-hatching and things. It seems unlikely that he would have shown us the mouth of the bottle here and not here due to just a simple lapse in attention. Surely this is deliberate. And in fact, actually, I can just rotate this back the way it's presumably supposed to be. Although this doorway here allegedly leads to the next page, although the cover of the book just has a red herring in that space. This door here, when considered as a door on the page that one could go through, though you can't see the number over it, could be imagined to go to page 8, because it is an 8.
Oh. Oh, it is?
It also just kind of looks to me as though it's designed to be like a door in the page itself. The way the outline is sort of flush with the edge of here makes it kind of, it's easier. It's something you can kind of read as being a door in the page rather than a door in the room through this doorway. And then there's the fact that there's the bottle on it. So, if you start to think maybe, whoops, that's that lower panel. Well, in any case, you start to think maybe this leads to a bottle room or something like that rather than a room indicated by a number. There's so many numbers, and they're all so similar that when you're trying to really connect things together in this way by working through a whole lot of threads, connotation, it becomes very impractical to use them, because there's 8s everywhere and 1s all over everywhere too, and 4s and 3s and so on, and they're all just kind of a mess. So looking for bottles instead narrows it down a great deal more. Room 39 has a bunch of bottles and so on, so you could try and guess. And there's another door to room 8 in room 29, which has a bottle above it. You might think perhaps this door leads to there, whereas then this door presumably is a different door. But this is all just theoretical. I mean, I don't know if any of that is correct. These are just notions.
Yeah, it looks different than my first room.
Than your first room? The one you read your...
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I don't know why. Mainly because I didn't see the little pictures in there.
Show us yours so I can put it on screen share.
All right, it's where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, I didn't see the little pictures in there. I saw a picture in the one on the far right.
Oh, yours looks like it's flipped. Is your screen flipped? Flipped?
Yeah, there we go. Maybe that helps.
Your resolution is incredibly low as well.
Yeah, there is that.
Is that just because your connection is bad, or is there...
It might just be the way I have it shared.
How do you have it shared?
I just have it running through the camera and the zoom in.
Yeah, try using the screen share function. I'll go back to mine while you poke around with that. And take your time. I can just go on blathering on about other rooms. So here's room 2. Oh, and I accidentally cut this off on the edge and couldn't undo it because I was out of memory. But in any case, here I'm dividing it through this edge, mainly just because of this bear, because there's a bear in room 42 that gets split. One would imagine, based on a bunch of complicated crap in that room. It looks sort of like a taxidermy bear, someone in a bear costume as well, which implies taking the head off and revealing that there's someone else inside, you know? Like what do you call those dolls that have other dolls inside? Matryoshka. The bear is also looking directly upwards, which is an odd expression for a stuffed animal. But that implies that he's, looking at something that we're not particularly seeing here, which makes me think, there's something significant with the bear. I don't know. I think it legitimatizes cutting it vertically, if nothing else. But I'm not really sure about this one. And like what the point is of putting all this stuff into the left brain and this stuff into the right brain or whatever, I couldn't tell you in this case. Some of them I sort of have a notion, some of them I don't.
Huh.
If you look close at this figure here at the angels, he has like a halo. It also seems to have horns. Maybe just my imagination. This angel's reaching down, this one's reaching up. No faces on any of these people, but they're drawn pretty small. A lot of moons in this room. There's one, and over here where I cut it off accidentally. There's more. There's another moon. So then this is room 3. Lots of silly things you can do with this one, because this isn't my fault. This is how it is in the book. It's supposed to be backwards. But so here, cutting the head off the arrow, the reason I'm doing that is because, rather than going through the pole here, is because this sign is shifted over. It's not centered above the door. And I figure you're cutting off the N on this side so that the door leads to, ein instead of 9. And then this N can be flipped around, and perhaps this is my dyslexia. But flip it 90 degrees into a Z, so then this leads to eyes, as in the room of eyes, which is dark. So. Yeah. And there's another sign in room, whichever one it is, with the pinstripe couch, that has a similar sort of trick. It's a sign to 25, but the corner's broken off, so it's like a little less than 25. Or 24, the room of eyes. It also has the word yes on it, and there's an E just to the left of that on a sign on something else. And if you put the E with the yes, then it spells eyes. So, and there's a sign in room 6 that just has a picture of an eye, but presumably that tunnel goes to the room of eyes. Unclear where that's supposed to go otherwise.
Oh, okay.
Though potentially room 1, because I does mean 1 in Roman numerals. It's a bit ambiguous. This is sort of the problem with Maze, is, unlike a computer game where you get feedback with things like this, here you just kind of do it in your head, and if you're on a tangent or something, or, basically making up your own game that has nothing to do with what was intended, you can't necessarily really tell. But in some ways, that's the magic of the thing. It wouldn't be nearly interesting if it were a computer game. And we have some pots and a sign that says pots and la-di-da. I don't know what's going on with all this stuff. There's an interesting example of something. Manson draws his G's with the crossbar connecting, like a 6. Unclear why. And then there's some other stuff in here, like this sign is also not centered above the door. Supposed to lead to room 18, I think, in most interpretations, though to me this could just as easily be a 0 as an 8. It could also be an I in negative space, but this is the one cut off. which does make me inclined to see it as a 0 because, dividing 0 from 1 is a lot more of an archetypal operation than dividing 8 from 1. But if you continue the line there, then over here we get the 0 associated with the sun, which seems to work, and the 1 is associated with this guy. It's falling into the radiator or whatever. He looks falling to me.
Either that or he's just dancing, or he's
Maybe
doing the crazy glue logo.
Maybe he's coming out, yeah. And it really could be any number of things going on.
Or the crap
He has
logo.
explicitly 10 fingers, right?
Yeah.
Which is not normally how you draw a stick figure. I certainly don't put that many fingers on my characters. They're a little bit more than stick figures in most respects. But so that's to indicate that he's associated with the number 10, presumably, which then again cues this sign being a 10 rather than an 18. Do you happen to know if this is considered to be an 18 by most people, right? Or do they see it as a 10?
I think most people consider it an 18. That's room 3. There's a website that.
Yeah, Into the Abyss.
Oh, I don't go to that one. I just go to the archive page. Archives.us, and then it has all the rooms linked. It was.
All right. Well, in any case, you can search for Maze, Christopher Manson, et cetera, and there's a number of places.
Yeah, there's 3 rooms, and there's 2 links. There's room 9 and there's room 18. So it claims to be room 18.
Well, what about room 33 here?
It doesn't link to room 33. Whoever made the website just decided it was an EE and didn't add that option.
There's no room EE in their opinion, huh?
Yeah, and then of course there's a room index page. You can get to any room from there, but.
Another interpretation I came up with this room is that this back wall here is actually the floor, and that this is a door.
Okay.
I like that one because it was so outside the box. It makes this into a big pit.
Okay. If everything's upside down and that's the.
No, I mean this is the floor. Like there would be stick figures walking around on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We should go in this door.
That's how they would talk too.
It could be anything. I say we go with that maze thing. Maze of death. That's the one. Let's see. And I counted the number of things on this sun. It didn't seem to be significant. I guess when you're drawing a sun that's foreshortened like that, you don't really have a lot of options if you want to make it look like a sun. Alright, so then there's this one. I'm not entirely sure about this one, but I feel like it sticks. It makes sense. We have here an axe chopping wood. That's pretty obviously related to splitting the page down the middle, if that's a thing that's actually valid to do. Intended to be some of the things that you do with the thing. And the handle of it is pointing at this chair, which is made of wood. So the implication is split the chair, maybe. And then if you do that, you split the flame here on the matchbox from the candle, which is not lit. So you're splitting the candle from the flame, which is an interesting split. It's sort of splitting the darkness from the light. Like here, another thing going on this page is you turn this sideways, so the 11 becomes an equals. Darkness equals light. Also, this looks like a D, as well as being dark. But to split the flame from the candle is sort of interesting because normally a flame, a candle flame would be extinguished were it not attached to the candle. So this was an interesting notion. This also has 2 nails over here on this piece of wood, which this is another persistent theme, is that there will be like 2 eyes or 2 things that represent eyes, and they'll both end up on the same side, interestingly. Here's some eye poking thing, or joints, or reattaching, or square versus circle, or I don't know. Not sure what's going on with that. This is a pretty complicated scene. ELL, Could say hell or tell or something, but there's no first letter there. Is this the room with the most doors? Do you know?
Hang on a second. Yeah, it is. It's got to be.
On page 11, the thoughtful guest, so they refer to the one who's specifically isolated from the group in the narration on the left here, which I don't have with me. Claims that room 11 is the one with the most exits, and so they must be close to the center, and the guy privately thinks that that's not true, but doesn't tell them. And that could be because that room only has 2 exits with door numbers over them, or with knobs for that matter. But it could also be because they're hidden doors. Like, what that means is that the room with the most exits apparently actually isn't, so maybe this one doesn't really have as many exits as we think, or maybe other rooms that don't seem to have very many do, or whatnot. There are certainly a lot of things that look like exits in the rooms, but which simply aren't numbered. So there's this one. This one I'm really not sure about, that the line could go in a number of places. Don't know. I do have a theory about this sign. Forthwith, forthright, fourth word, fourth thought. And then the ought is what's in the blank. The fourth door.
Yeah.
The second half of it is an ought.
Fourth wall?
No, I'm thinking fourth thought.
Oh.
And then the ought is the 0 here, and then in the fourth door. The second half of the fourth number, just like this is the second half of the fourth word on the sign. This is another easel. There's this one, there's the one in room 1 with this, which looks sort of like a stick figure to me. Does this look like a figure to you? Legs,
yeah.
arms, and something. And then there's the one that the guy with the cone hat is drawing on in room 19. Have you read Wayside School?
I have, and the lasting impression that it's left on me is always look in the refrigerator first. Always show up in the refrigerator, and I should probably go back and read the book. But even the bum that they invited as a guest speaker, he knew that kid's socks were in the fridge.
Yeah, but the sock cruise was a diversion. Remember? While you're looking for socks, Jeff is back in the car into the ocean.
Yeah, I don't even remember what floor the main classroom was in.
I think it was on the top floor, I think, and I remember that being the 30th floor.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it was the 29th floor, because there was no floor number 19 due to a mistake.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if I finished either book, but I had both books, and I've read chapters and chapters within each book. But
yeah, but I think in the second one, some kid does end up in the classroom on the 19th floor, despite it not existing, and it's all full of counterfactual people, and they're sort of it's like they never leave, right? It's sort of like they're dead and they're in some sort of afterlife, but they're mainly just kind of like the teacher tries to do her best and be a good teacher and stuff, but she's frustrated by the fact that all her requests for school supplies and stuff just get ignored because apparently she doesn't exist. But she can draw a regular septagon on the blackboard, which is not something most of them can do. So then this one has a weird angly thing. There's this little stick, and there's this stick. And those imply that you're supposed to realign this, especially along with room 8 having a tilt in sort of the same way. So I split it along that. I could be wrong easily. I'm not really sure about this one. This is a 40 that most of the time when he does a 4, well, he does 4s 2 different ways. Well, he does them in a number of different ways, actually. I shouldn't generalize.
Maybe he was just trying to draw OH.
Right. Well, that was my thought. It does say O upside down, and then this has an I, right? So it's like in and out, or 1 and 0.
Yeah.
And then there's this doorway. I'm not sure what's going on with that. That looks sort of like a face, which sort of implies splitting it. But then again, you are supposed to end up with both eyes on one side. But the face doesn't really have eyes. It's not even totally a face. So this is very ambiguous. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret this, which may be the point. I'm not sure. I've certainly read works which shall go unnamed. Actually, might as well name it, even though you're not going to be able to look it up because it's unpublished. Ido Fuzikon, which I have reason to believe does not really have a proper solution. It's just designed to look like it does. And the same may be true here, and with Marcel Duchamp's large glass and so on, that it's not really a puzzle in the sense that it claims to be. But honestly, the more I look into it, the cleverer it seems, and so I do tend to think that there is an overall solution, even if there isn't necessarily a solution to every individual sub-puzzle. I've made puzzles like that myself. And people tend to have a low opinion of my puzzles in terms of their legitimacy, and it is a little frustrating. So then there's room 7 here. This one I'm quite sure of. You split this down the lamp.
And you're on the cover of Time magazine. And you look in the mirror.
Right, exactly. It's you. Oh my God, you're the first one. So
get those Minotaur horns.
I'm not sure if this is supposed to be King Solomon, or was it Solomon whose idea was to chop a baby in half? I think he was just threatening to, in order to provoke them into agreeing on something. But for some reason, that's the impression I get with his beard, maybe. And then this is the real clue, is this picture, because one of the eyes is occluded by the lamp hole, the other one isn't, and this doesn't really look like the same face on both sides, does it? Like, this looks like 2 different faces, or two different halves of a face that have just been sort of stuck together. Perhaps. I don't know. But then we also have the tails cut off of this duck toy. This is sort of an odd thing, but these 3 tails, and this is to associate with the 3 blind mice, which are cued by a painting here in room 9, the blind mouse next to door number 3, right? Because the 3 blind mice in the rhyme have their tails cut off. So then the implication, this is still about blindness versus sight, blind, sight, etc., etc. And it's all very complicated and metaphorical, and there's a lot of, if darkness equals sight, then does blindness equal light, and so on and so on. So it's unclear what the point of it is, if there is a point. But I'm pretty sure this is where the line is intended to be drawn, to the extent that there is one.
Oh, okay.
This number is a 6, if you care. It's occluded, and I just left it like that because, hey, it's a 6 anyway. So then there's this one. This is another one that's turned at a weird angle. This has a line running along it at that level, and it seems to make sense to divide the numbers, which are sort of the explicit symbols, from the more, ambiguous symbols like listen to your hunch and so on. There's a bit of a sinister thing on this page's narration, which says, you can never tell when you might need that, referring to something in the room. Probably the umbrella, I think, but I'm not sure. And, and the way the text is written, there's a line break after tell, so you can read it as just saying you can never tell, and there's a couple similar things on other pages, implying that it's a secret, which may be designed to get people who read this far in to not give away the secret if they should find it. I figure at this point I mean, like the deadline for the contest has long ago ended, and the prize was just split among the 10 people who got the closest. It kind of feels like something that's long overdue to be solved in a public way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did a pretty good room 8.
Yeah.
I know, like,
Oh yeah, I've seen yours. Oh, also, this got moved because I had to rejigger them when I noticed something else in one of them. But this is a smile here above this door. This is like a creepy grinning clown face with 4 gappy teeth. But then the smile and the S is to, there's in room 20, it says extra S's. Let's go down there. There we go. Extra S's, right? Which is used in a number of places, I think, but one of them is here. There's a joke. What is the longest word in the English language? The answer is smiles, because there's a mile between the 2 S's. The challenge, as elaborated on the cover of the book or the back cover or something, is to find the shortest route through the maze to the center and back out again. And obviously, you would want to avoid going miles if you were looking for the shortest route. So I think that's what that connects to. Not sure. But it could. Some of this is emphasized by things in Homestuck or various other works that are not exactly derivative, but seem to have been sort of at least sort of unconsciously, like somebody might have read the book and had some ideas about it kicking around in their head, and they sort of came out in their work. Like if they're doing a right brain, left brain, unconscious consciousness thing, then it's entirely possible that people would have opinions or thoughts or beliefs about these essentially irrelevant, random little wordplay puzzles, despite the fact that they weren't aware that they did. But there's the red miles in Homestuck, which is this thing that just reaches really, really far. It's this deadly attack that at one point the character named Jack Noir uses to kill an entire universe.
That's a lot of universe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big frog from the outside, so. But, so then this one here, there's this broken shovel or spade, which also cues taking the T off of the beginning of something because it's a T-shaped handle. But the big clue here is the apple. Split the apple. Pretty easy. It also goes through the middle of the 8, which there's stuff about splitting 8s, although it's a bit abstract here because you're splitting it vertically, and presumably you would split an 8 horizontally. To make 2 balls.
You make 2 3s.
Or it could be 2 3s, yeah, and then there's the thing with the backwards 3s in room 33 and whatnot. Here's a particular way of drawing a 3 that looks kind of like an upside-down keyhole, you know? Like with the flat part on top, and he does this sometimes. I'm not sure why he's doing it here versus not here and that sort of thing, but I think it does matter in room 29. There's also something a little bit funky with the ceiling of this one. It feels like you're supposed to maybe look at it from another angle, as though, you know, this is the back wall again, and these are windows, or, you know, maybe this is the floor and this is a bookcase or something. Looks like the underside of a bed, maybe. These are bunk beds. I don't know. Turn this room upside down. This looks sort of like clouds. There's a number of things. I don't really get a lot of stuff in most of these rooms. And of course, whenever I'm turning anything upside down or whatever, I get confused as to whether you're supposed to go to room 9 or room 6 when you have an upside down 6 and that sort of stuff. I tend to think sometimes that the numbers in the corner are actually totally irrelevant and that you have to figure out which room is which number based on, you know, clues like thematic elements between them or something, or the way that they would connect in an architectural sense, or some combination of 20 or 30 different odd intuitive ways of looking at it. I mean, I don't really feel like I'm blowing open the secrets of this, even though I feel like there's a substantial amount of material I'm relating here that hasn't been related before, because the deeper in I look, the more I see. And of course, in part, that's just because it's sort of designed to lead off the edge of the page into your own imagination. The quote that I like from the comic Few and Far Between, probably quoting something else: "The mansion of the imagination has many rooms and many doors, but of all these rooms and all these doors, none lead out but further in." So here's one of those. It's this unlabeled door, and it has a paint can next to it, as though you're allowed to write in whatever number you want. And what if you write in like 76 or something? Well, I guess you could, by the multiplication table in that other one, assume that goes to room 42, because 7 times 6 is 42. But what if you write in, I don't know, 9 times 9 times 8 or something? I mean, it goes higher than the book has pages, so you're sort of making up the rooms yourself. You're drawing them in with the paintbrush, like Harold and the Purple Crayon or something.
Okay. There is the paintbrush.
Although one could argue, because these are double doors, that if you write in a number here and a number there, this door goes to the first number, that door goes to the second number. Like, this is actually a door to room 4, and this is a door to room 1. But I don't know if that's intentional or not. I think, again, it's sort of intended to be ambiguous and to just sort of splay out what happens into enough different threads that, if you're a clever person, you can probably find something in it that looks legitimate to you, but which other people may or may not be able to see, depending on how convincingly you relate it.
Yeah, I think he meant for us to keep going after 45. It must be it.
Maybe. I'm not sure what the significance of 45 is. It seems like it's probably just a reasonable place to stop.
Yeah, most likely.
You have most of the material there. You don't really need to do all the numbers, because you can get away with multiplying them together or rearranging them or whatnot. There's no room 72, but there is a 27, so if you get a 72, you could rearrange it, look at it that way, that sort of thing. Here's a ballerina and a guy with a stick doing a dance. No faces again. I don't know about that. The fact that they're sort of vertically above implies maybe dividing room vertically, boys versus girls or something, but I don't really see anything particularly. You could also divide along the axis of this baton or whatever this is.
Well, it's also either a girl's bedroom or just a guest bedroom, or a young adult, or it doesn't,
It looks like a fancy bed more than a girl's bed to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, that too, like a really fancy guest bedroom. So they've probably got some idols up there, posted up there. They don't have faces, so that way it will remain. It'll remain pop culturally, over the years.
Also, these paintings are sort of leaning away from the wall a little, the same way the mirror in room 7 is. So maybe these are how you see yourself.
Yeah.
This one has the string above it connecting it to hanging on a thing, which associates it more with like the little girl is about to poke her eyes out in room 41 as being a painting of a bad thing, I guess. Or maybe a good thing, because blindness equals sight, right? So he's always trying to get me to poke my eyes out. I don't think it's a good idea. I advise against poking your eyes out.
Well, I would too, but it's a...
Try wearing a blindfold for a while instead. I mean, it is interesting. You do notice things you would not otherwise notice.
Yeah, that's the easier way to it.
Well, I mean, in some ways, if you do poke your eyes out, it's not something you have to worry about anymore, deciding whether to look at stuff or not, because the decision is already made for you. I don't know why I'm trying to sell people on poking their eyes out. I just feel like I should, represent both sides of the issue. But I mean, it's true. There's so much visual noise in the world, not just in like deliberate ways or this like unconscious recognition of all sorts of confusing signs, but just even if you're at the grocery store, it's all over the place. There's all these little visual things competing for your attention. And, you know, do you want to fill your head with that all day? It seems oppressive, obnoxious.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep the lights off in my house most of the time. Oh, here was this room. And this one is the trap room, because this is like a rat trap or something, some kind of experiment cage or something like that. Oh, another thing going on with some of these is that like the doors on the back wall will be like your eyes, and the doors on the right and left will be your ears. And here, not only are they shut, but there's not even a knob. So this is like, oh no, you're trapped in a box when there's a bucket on your head that says no or something. You've been winger gnomed. So the doors here, 40 and 24, sort of just in corners ambiguously. Temples, I guess, rather than eyes or ears. And I guess your left eye, which, I mean, technically the left side of your visual field goes to the right brain, and the left side, or the right side of the visual field goes to the left brain, but the way people intuitively think of it, to the degree that they have an understanding of it at all, is that the left eye goes to the right brain and the right eye goes to the left brain, and certainly would be simpler and more archetypal if it worked that way. But so the left eye, aka the right brain, is seeing this sign.
Okay, so that means if we want to change our brains, we'll just wear an eye patch.
Well, it seems like it should work, doesn't it? But it doesn't actually, because like I said, the left side of the visual field in both eyes goes to the right brain, and the right side of the visual field in both eyes goes to the left brain. So it's not that simple. What you would have to do is wear glasses that were blacked out on the right side or the left side or something like that, so that the middle of your visual field, where your pupils were looking, that was blacked out on one side, which really it would be pretty tricky to do. You would need like an Oculus Rift or glasses that could be made dark by like an LCD sort of a thing, and then an eye tracking setup, so it would look where your pupils were and change what it was showing you, or just have the monitor on your computer doing it would be easier. Then you would only need the eye tracking setup. That's probably more plausible, but it would only work on the computer in that case.
Oh, so that must be why your brain hurts when you wear polarized glasses.
Well, mine doesn't.
Oh, well, mine does a little bit.
I think. Have you had that recently? Because
I haven't. I can watch 3D stuff, but it's just the whole.
I thought they corrected that by switching from vertically and horizontally polarized filters to both of them being circularly polarized, but in different directions, because that way you can tilt your head and it doesn't screw things up.
Oh, okay.
I guess there is still the fact that while you're unfocusing your eyes in a binocular sense, you're not supposed to unfocus them in terms of the degree to which you're squishing the lens of the eye. And some people can't really do those two operations separately. I can do it separately myself because I spent so much time doing magic eye puzzles and stuff as a kid, so it comes pretty naturally to me. But if you can't, then that could make your head hurt too. Now, it should be noted that this bell, quote unquote, really looks more like a buzzer.
It does.
So unconsciously, it feels like maybe one side of the brain is pushing the button to get attention, and the other one is getting painful electric shocks from it. It's like, no, don't do that. This seems like sort of a mean room to me. But, I understand the motivation to make stuff like this, because if you have insights about how stuff like this works and nobody listens to you or takes you seriously, it's very tempting to just use them. And the easiest way to use most knowledge is just to make a mess.
Yeah, it looked like a fun room to make, though.
Yeah, and I like the fact that the illustrations are in black and white and stuff like that. It brings out the shapes of things, which are what I find interesting. I kind of wish sometimes that I'd done my whole comic in black and white, but it's so easy to just get lazy and use colors to separate speakers and stuff like that.
There are hues of yellow in some of the versions.
Are they intentional though, or are they just lighter shades of brown?
There's in the book there's like a third color. There's like a little hue of like bright yellow.
On what?
In the maze book.
Right, but on what specific objects?
It's pretty much just sort of a highlight everywhere, like a third thing to shade with. physically have the book around. I gave my copies away, but
So
I've got another one coming.
this door leads to room 24, and I think kind of the implication that I get anyway is that this whole room is inside room 24, and you're leaving the box and you're then within the room 24 box because it's dark up here, right? So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's the intended reading. And this is another sideways one, and I mean stuff like this is a little bit sketchy because if it is really supposed to be intuitively processed that you're splitting the right half from the left half, then people are going to be looking at the book right side up pretty much most of the time. Maybe they'll do this a little bit, but they're not actually going to be physically looking at it from this angle for very long, if at all. So if you want to actually get a message through via this directional splitting, it's going to be only to the people who have figured out that you turn it this way or whatever. I'm pretty sure that you are supposed to, like he's making the scissorsy symbol and pointing at this, which is a U and a D for up and down, obviously.
Oh, I never finished trying to redraw this room, but I always thought I thought it was the Dreamcast logo, and that Christopher Manson just really liked the Dreamcast, but
Well, maybe
that
they
was my own theory.
do on him. I mean,
I know it wasn't invented yet, but that
and some of this stuff is pretty influential, I think.
Yeah.
I think of this as being an hourglass.
Okay.
And like this is the pinch point of the hourglass here. So you're coming in the ceiling, you don't see the ceiling. It sort of goes up and then down here.
Okay.
Pinches down into the... And what this guy is saying is, break the hourglass, basically. Separate the above from the below. And there could be a lot of different reasons for doing that, because an hourglass, obviously, represents time, including the past, future, and present. And it's also sort of like a container that a bunch of sand is trapped in, and any number of other things. So, break the hourglass. Does that mean destroy time? Or does that mean, let those things that are trapped within time free? We have a way of talking about time in our culture that does make it seem like kind of a prison in some ways. The past is in the past, the future is in the future, etc. Things being inside themselves certainly leads to problems in interactive fiction games. They get buggy. So maybe what this is saying is that our conception of time is broken already. Certainly a fact.
And maybe the guys with the beard pointing at the Dreamcast logo is saying, "You better like the Dreamcast, or I'll cut you." Pointing right at it, and he's doing the scissor thing, or maybe he's just saying peace. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll cut you is generally not done with scissors.
Yeah, well, I've done it before. It's like, hey, I'll cut you.
What, you cut someone with scissors, or just gesture that you were going to?
No, you make the scissor gesture with the fingers.
I see.
As if you're using scissors, but you don't have them. You're like, hey, if I had these, but I don't, so you're okay.
That reminds me of the threat that Jack Handy came up with, where he would light a stick of dynamite and hold it up to the phone so they could hear it fizzing and be like, "Hear that, baby? That's dynamite." So what about this guy with his scissors?
Oh, I don't know. He's got a club in his other hand, so
I think he's drawing a sword or something.
yeah, either drawing a sword or
There's another version of this room that's very similar, which is
might have a cane or a walker, or
I don't remember.
but yeah, there is another room. It's like it's like 12 and 23.
12 is 28, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like this has a patio up.
Both multiples of 4.
Well, yeah, they are.
I don't know if that means anything.
Half of 24, and one of them is 24 plus 4. But I mean, this is the problem with numbers. It's like the way that they relate to each other is so incredibly dense with connections that the schizophrenic way of looking at things just gets completely stymied by them. They're just a complete mess. And arguably, the problem with our notation rather than with that way of looking at things. But it's tricky. that's part of why I want to just think about this in terms of, erase the numbers and see what you would make of the book if there were no numbers in it. You know, like how would you arrange the rooms in your mind without using the numbers?
Yeah, I think the first couple pages I was doing it without numbers, but then
Mm.
I just switched and reverted the numbers.
So this one is about time as well. Obviously, the missing thing here is second, and like the reading of that is that there is no second, or there's no second hand on this clock, for instance. One could argue that this means that time isn't real. This sundial with a lamp pointed at it, which is currently off, also sort of implies that time isn't real. I guess you could just move the lamp around to make different times a day. In the director's chair here. But the bullhorn, yes. Whoever has the horn controls time. So it's controlled by clowns or trolls or devils or demons or something. Do you have an impression of the difference between devils and demons?
I don't know.
D&D does this as order versus chaos, and the homegrown game system that I use did it the other way around, which always leaves me confused. Like one was sort of cheap knockoffs of the other, like looked like they'd been manufactured in some third world country and all had different colors and misspelled stuff about Obama paired with Sonic the Hedgehog and that sort of thing. This was Game Master described it to us anyway. I don't think he was quoting the monster manual. In any case. Oh, also, this is a cord leading off. That could connect to this cord here,
Okay.
which goes to an outlet that you can't see. Because I accidentally out, but
Yeah, I remember the outlet.
I was kind of thinking that this cord led to the, what's it called? To the telephone in room 20, but that doesn't really make as much sense since that should be a telephone cord. So it could go to this lamp, but I don't really know what that means. And I'm not really sure where you're actually supposed to divide this room either. Maybe it's where I unconsciously divided it along the right side here, which is this is a doorway to room 24 here that has this paper clip on a string coming out because you put the paper clip in the outlet and you get electrocuted, right?
Yeah, either that or you pick up the paperclip and you're holding it and someone drags you in room 24.
Why wouldn't you just let go of the paper clip?
I have no idea. Maybe there's just saying, hey, come on in. And
Maybe it's like that monkey trap where the monkey reaches in and grabs the nut and he can't get his hand out because the opening is too small and he's too greedy to let go of the nut. That's sort of implied by this claw holding onto this sphere or apple or whatever it is, which is why I drew the line here, is I figured maybe it's an apple and you're supposed to split it, but I don't know. It also draws a line through this, which is sort of like an eye, and maybe it's being slashed or poked because it's looking at something, a light source, and it shouldn't, or not. I don't know. This one looks like a target, so the implication is poke the eye. And there's, of course, a whole sexual reading to the whole eye poking thing, which I don't think is intentional, because it is a kid's book, and he certainly doesn't have any overtly sexual imagery, whereas the sort of the creepy or mythological nature of this does fit in more with the, the sight versus darkness versus good versus evil sort of a reading of the eye poking thing. So I don't think it's a sexual reading, but it's certainly there to be read. That said, sexual readings just crop up in everything. It's hard not to have them.
or maybe it's like a dartboard and you're supposed to untangle the paperclip so you can, because that's the only thing you have in the room to practice darts. But as you do, you step on the paperclip and then someone drags you into 24 because you get your foot stuck in there somehow.
Maybe you're magnetic. Maybe you've been magnetized.
Yes, and then that could be it, because I mean, probably from the room that you came in from, maybe Yeah, I mean, if that's a really big paperclip, then you might have used a magnet trick.
Maybe you're supposed to pull something out from room 24.
Yeah, but what is it?
Or maybe you're supposed to clip a document to the paperclip so they can pull it in and read it.
Or maybe that's how people escape from Room 24.
I don't understand that. Is this like
Oh
a threat
yeah,
them out?
hey, pull them out. Yeah,
It could be.
it looks like a sturdy enough string.
I'm pretty sure there's other ways that you're supposed to get out, like through the like if you become just a pair of eyes, then you could get out through the missing brick in room 39. Yeah,
Yeah, that too.
that sort of thing. And like different parts of you could get out different ways and then reassemble yourselves. It's like a portal that a human can't pass through, but one that sort of magically disassembles and reassembles themselves could. Like Rayman, presumably, could go through there.
Oh, okay.
So then this one, right down the middle, just because there's a line, a heart, split the rabbit, split the heart, killed a wabbit, whatever, I don't know. Not sure about this one. There's also a hat here, a hat there. This hat has one bump, this hat has two. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in this room that I sort of understand. Here's another door without a knob. This is Sweet Bro and Hell Jeff number 15 has a door placed in the same orientation, and Sweet Bro is trying to get in there. There is a knob, and it's actually explicitly labeled knob. But he's knocking on the door because Hella Jeff is in there. It's a bathroom, and he's making nachos in there. I don't really know or remember what's going on, but the solution is to slide the nachos under the door, which doesn't really seem viable to me, but I don't know, maybe. That like, the thing with the document and the paperclip, that maybe, but nachos, not so much. A whole lot of this seems like a communication problem. Like there's two different people trying to talk to each other, and it's what looks like a puzzle to us from the outside, but from the inside, it was nothing of the sort. It was just like Christopher Manson talking to himself, basically, and eventually he gave up and was like, well, maybe if I pretended it was a puzzle, someone else will translate it for me. Like, that's kind of what I've done with my own comic in the end, is I feel like I need somebody else to come in and interpret it for me, even though I am the author, because I don't know what it means. But nobody wants to, for understandable reasons.
Yeah.
So then this says sun, perhaps. The V could be a U by virtue of this page of heroes with U's and V's being identical in that font. Or if you put the 3 in there backwards as an EE, it says 7, la-di-da. Don't know why. I mean, it's just more number stuff. I don't know. Too many associations with the numbers. Numbers are just, they're a tumor. Numbers are a tumor. Frankly, letters are a tumor. Not as much as numbers. The March of the Pure Mathematical Evil. That's what they call it in Add Into X. Well, they have a song of that name. I guess it's just me who calls it that in the head.
Well, maybe SVN is for subversion or something. I don't know if that was an acronym back then, though.
I don't think it's an acronym now.
Oh, it is.
Oh, that reminds me of something interesting, though. There's I don't think I went that high, but there's a room here that has a sign on the wall that says C-Bag OK. And this is understood, it's C-S-E-A, but it's understood that you turn that into a C and then it anagrams to go back. But Manson has, unusually, and it could be a sign of just being old-fashioned, but he's written in the dots in OK, because it is indeed an abbreviation for all correct, spelled wrong. Most people don't know this, but it's true. It's part of a spate of those misspelled acronyms. It's the only one that survived from the 1920s. So I haven't tried anagramming that, but if you expand the OK to all correct, presumably it could spell other things besides go back. I'm not sure what exactly. It's too long to really probe in depth, but you could take a stab at it. But again, I don't know if that's deliberate, but certainly And it could be that he just put in the abbreviation dots to sort of mentally remind you that, you know, things can be expanded and contracted in that way from letters to words, and then to do that with the C. Or to remind you that OK is a sort of an ironic meaning, but I don't think that carries through with the modern audience because most people just have no idea what it stands for. They have never learned. Because they don't read the etymology dictionary. They should, though. It's really interesting. This one, I have no idea where the line really goes. I'm just guessing. This one seems more legitimate because you're splitting this face and there's a little darkness light line there, and like this doorway doesn't really seem to have a lot of a purpose to it other than just to provide a vertical stroke. But, this has a 33 with the threes with the lines on top drawn. 45 spells sh upside down, sort of. And he's done a flat top on the 5 because 5s always have a flat top. Maybe the 33 with the flat tops is just to sort of say, yeah, well, maybe that's just stylistic here, and this is an S. And this is sort of a winking face, well, kind of, like that being the grin. But then, because the teeth are showing in the smile, this is, you know, an implication that going this way is a mistake because of the miles thing. It's light at the end, but darkness equals light, and la-di-da. This is also a room that you're supposed to turn upside down in general, I'm pretty sure, just because it's described as a room with a floor of sand. It has a peaked roof that you can't see. So it's like an hourglass, you know? Like this is all of an hourglass and the sand goes through to the other side. But it's, and the doors here, the 33 and the 6, make sense upside down. And as well as this becoming a sh, this becomes a 9. And the 33 becomes an EE, which there is a door that actually says EE over it. So you want to know where that goes. It goes here, presumably. But then like it becomes super unclear as to whether this leads to the little archway that goes to room 9 from room 27, or whether it goes to room 6 and down the ladder or whatever. And I don't know. The arrows coming out sort of implies that this is the exit from room 6. Like, you see the arrows on this urn.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on pretty much every page. I mean, there's a lot of effort put into this book. And yeah, I've always sort of like, when I get into this, because I have some friends who have, well, you're one of them actually, or you know the rest of them, so you know what I'm talking about. But like Vincent has an obsession with this book, but doesn't really want to engage with my sort of crazier theories about it. And I feel like it's because there's a side of him that sees these interesting things, but he doesn't really want to think in a crazy enough way to see them on a conscious level. In part, there's some scarier, like, guilt-inducing stuff in here where it's like, you know, you are the devil or whatever is an easy interpretation to get from this. Unclear how deliberate that is, because the thing is, it's like the same sorts of messages that push our buttons emotionally, that can be very manipulative, are also the ones that give you the broadest vocabulary in terms of just trying to express yourself on an intuitive level, because that's the sort of, you know, language that the brain unconsciously speaks in. So it becomes very ambiguous, which is problematic. But so, like, at times I would, while working through this, I would be thinking, oh, man, Manson was a monster making this book, you know, trying to get kids trapped in his evil maze that he drew or whatever. And then at other times I would think, you know, this is, like, really, really interesting. And a lot of effort was put into this, and it seems tragic that so few people have probed it to a depth where they could see it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think this is something, it could very well be that when he made the book, he thought that a lot of people would be able to solve it in, you know, in fairly short order, just within, you know, the first few months after it was released. And nobody did. Nobody came anywhere near close. And so he just waited for people to, you know, to figure it out, and then they didn't. And maybe eventually he sort of noticed that people seemed to be sort of solving it unconsciously and then having like a mental immune response, essentially, where they made a creative work themselves of the same nature or of an oppositional nature or something like that to try and sort it out without knowing what they were doing. I'm not sure if he is figured out that that's what happened, or maybe intended it to happen from the beginning, but I don't think so. I really do think that he intended this to be a puzzle that was solved long ago. Or at least that he did when he started writing it. It could well be that he could never really finish the book to his own satisfaction, and so he made it something that doesn't have a real solution but looks like it does in an effort to get other people to finish it for him. Because he didn't want to admit that it wasn't finished because it would make it difficult to publish if it was, because that's the way books are. You have to have a finished book in order to get it published. Whereas with Marcel Duchamp, working as a fancy artist whose works appeared in art galleries, the fact that his masterpiece was broken and unfinished really only adds to its appeal, right? Because it makes it, outsider art or whatever, like you're peeking behind the scenes and getting a look at the artistic process. What a treat. Really, it is better to have a finished work in most cases. But most versions of this are unfinished. The Lego movie is one of the few things that I've seen that actually managed to tell a complete story about this sort of thing. Which is not to say that it's over forever. I believe there is even a Lego Movie 2 scheduled, which should be quite interesting. But, and Simon will probably get contracted to work on the Lego Movie 2 video game, which makes us, that makes me weep for our species that we have things with names that obtuse. Which this box here, why oh blank, you are blank. I think the accepted near solution on one of these Maze fan sites is why oh dear, you are near, or something like that. I don't think that's it. Y, O, U, and R are all letters as well as words. These are probably meant to be letter words as well. And they're probably meant to rhyme. I think the solution to this is Y, O, U, you are two. That you are two people. You are the guest and the guide. But there are other interpretations that I can think of. Looking at it upside down, for instance, Y-O-B would spell B-O-Y for boy. And then, you rhyme that with a variety of things. Difficult to get girl out of that, but you are, probably didn't mean URL, considering it was written in 1985, but there's a lot of options.
Yeah, URL is pretty good.
Yeah, or I think now the preferred language is URI, actually. Unpacks to an interesting phrase in terms of words, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a uniform resource identifier. Leonard, who deals with RESTful web services and other incredibly exciting things like that, persistently uses URI instead of URL, which is the only reason why I know that this is the preferred terminology. But so then there's 18 here, the scary fireplace. Eye seems to be sort of pointing directly at the viewer, a little bit cross-eyed. The hat, as though perhaps Frosty the Snowman had come into the fireplace and melted. A bowling pin for no appreciably good reason, maybe just because to cue the idea of a snowman or sort of an abstract human figure. The shadow on this bowling pin is also a little bit cheated, and it should be more streaked out over here, shouldn't it? But this is why I have the line there, is just to separate the bowling pin from its shadow. Just intuitively seemed correct to me. I don't know enough musical notation to tell you what letters these notes are, but this is, I think that's a D clef and that's a G clef. Am I right about that? Do you know?
Yeah, that's right.
You play guitar, right?
Well, yeah, the two notes would be the F and the A. It would be A then F.
So these two notes?
Yeah.
That's an A and an F, okay. And what about these ones?
That is E. That's E, G, and then E, then G, and then C, E, G, C, E. I would think, because.
Well, I have no idea what that means. My other notion about what to do here is to sort of fill in the blanks on this and this by having this be a curtain to room 1 and this be a curtain to room 33. Maybe, or potentially, maybe that's wrong, and maybe this is 133 because the 3 moved over for no good reason, but maybe this is just literally a D. So this is room D linked here. And this is room G. There's no rooms that I would particularly naturally identify as D and G, although I have made some letter associations that sort of stuck. But it could be that. The D clef also looks like a frowny face, but it's not as though that's sinister. I mean, if you simply wanted to use a D clef, it's kind of unavoidable that it looks like a frowny face because it just does.
Yeah, that was before emoticons were popular.
It was the first emoticon.
Yeah, I mean, it was around the right time zone.
Well,
But
that's not what time zone means.
Yeah, there weren't very many live chats, and there was only Usenet and email and all that, so they weren't used very much. And they still had dashes for the nose.
Yeah, they didn't realize that nose is waste bandwidth yet.
Yeah.
Although that does screw up the metaphor in other languages too, because like our word for the personal pronoun is I, right? It's the letter I, but it's synonymous with, it's a homonym of the word I. So we think of ourselves as our eyes, which we have 2 of, right? Whereas in other cultures, the personal pronoun, in other languages, the personal pronoun is not a homonym of the organ of sight. For instance, I believe in Japanese, the word is derived, at least etymologically, from it means nose. And you might think, well, okay, so maybe the eye sees, but the nose knows. But of course, that's not even a pun in Japanese. I don't even know. I have no idea. I have zero sense of what the allegorical implications of their different personal pronoun is, because I don't speak Japanese, and so I don't know any of the connotational halo, which you sort of can't help but know in terms of English, even if you don't consciously know it.
Yeah, I'm sure they do like a play of words, so I'm sure that could be humor over there. So
I'm pretty sure that's from Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I have no idea here, really. This division between sharp and light on this pillar just seems starker than natural, so I drew it there, but I don't know. I could say more about this page, but, Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, I think, covered it with the big man out in the yard. And then the Lego movie sort of builds upon that with, I think it's Shaquille O'Neal is the one with the yellow jersey.
Yeah.
They were not very helpful against the spaceships.
They were ready for that.
They were ready for that, which, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this stuff, I feel like you can feel like you're in the midst of a really exciting or dangerous story, and then sort of at the end of it realize that this is something that happened hundreds of years ago, and you're just like reading a history book, essentially. So,
Yeah.
And everything changes so fast in some ways in our culture now, but a lot of times I don't know if I'm reading, sci-fi or history. Maybe the Lego movie is sci-fi. Maybe this is sci-fi. I don't fucking know. I mean, to the extent that this is a story at all, arguably it isn't. It doesn't have an ending, aside from Room 24. I mean, most choose-your-own-adventure books, you do usually die. This one, I guess, or you get the bad end, whatever it is. This one, you shouldn't feel bad about, because that's the only ending. It's that or just get disgusted with the book and throw it away before leaving the first page like Pokey the Penguin does. Yeah, that's a book that simulates being obsessive compulsive. And it's like, to wash your hands again, reread page 1. And he's like, I hate my life. And he throws the book into the ocean. The little girl's like, what was on the other pages, Pokey? He says, porn.
Porn.
You can never get to them, so it doesn't matter. This one I have split at an odd angle because of this. This is the tower from Tarot, and like many depictions of the tower, it has the top being broken off by the lightning strike, which I'm not sure why that is. I should probably look that up because it seems like an interesting detail. But in this case, the top of the tower looks like a crown, and there's a tower over here at an angle, and there's this guy with this turban, which is a hat, which is a crown, and there's also the arrowhead kind of you know, ambiguously in there. So I figured, split it at that angle. That works fine, good enough. No idea what the point of that is, but there you go. And extra S's. And a tortoise. And a telephone. What's your favorite tarot card?
I don't know. The black cards was always pretty cool.
The what card?
The black card. I don't know which one that was.
Death.
Death.
Have you ever played tarot?
I may have gotten a reading like once or twice when I was 14. It just seemed like too much to dabble in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You were in the Ouija project though, right?
The Ouija project.
Or the Ouija, whatever the hell it was. I ran it. It was this thing where we were building a universe, and it had a lot of floating platforms and stupidity.
Was that the
Maybe you weren't.
multi-board disconnected one?
It never. No. It wasn't a ZZT thing. It was. I did it with. This was the first project that I had Ben along with on, but Lemmer worked on it too. Actually, I think it was their only overlap. And Lemmer, interesting stuff. There was a man in the center of the universe who controlled everything. He wasn't God, but he was God-like essentially. And he sat on this floating platform in the middle of the universe in a recliner, sipping an old-fashioned, and until a meteor. Or no, it's not even a meteor. It's a large, unspecified object falls on him, killing him instantly and splattering him into a pile of blood. And then the question is, who will reach his platform first? Because whoever it is will become the new king of the universe or something like that, and control everything. And unless they do within a certain time limit, then I forget, time will end or something. There's a theme of that in a lot of these works of you have to get there or else time will end. But I think this relates to the unconscious processing of time in consciousness versus schizophrenic. There's a trick you can do according to Julian Jaynes, where if you have someone hypnotized and you tell them that time doesn't exist, it makes them act like they're schizophrenic.
Oh.
And it sounds like a really mean thing to do. I can see it from another side, having intentionally become schizophrenic myself, essentially. There's an aspect to the conscious awareness of time which seems unpleasant, undesirable, false even. I don't like clocks. I don't like having windows where I can see the night and day go by. There's something about it feels very undesirable to me, and impractical even. Like it's just a stupid distraction. But I'm not really sure what's going on inside the mind. Here we have room 24, room 44 for some reason, 31, which links back to it, and there's also another little outdoor area. This railing is the same railing seen through the door in room 12 that leads out to the patio, but you also are seeing a palm tree through there, and these are deciduous palm trees in 44, which has a different railing.
I like 21 a lot.
This has some cherub porn. This has some snowman sort of figures. I think this might be an ibis, but the beak isn't quite right. Maybe Anson just can't draw birds very well. I don't know what kind of bird this is supposed to be. I did a Google image.
I had a lot of trouble drawing that bird too, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
There's a guy, Frank Key, who writes Hooting Yard, and his main character is this pamphleteer called Dobson, whose pamphlets are eternally out of print. And he has many interests and skills, but he's a terrible ornithologist. Just like everything he ever wrote about birds was wrong. So it may be that this is just one of Manson's pitfalls, that he doesn't do birds correctly. But my guess is that this is at least supposed to be an ibis, because ibis has two eyes. And then here we have this wrench, which if you just look at the shape of the ends, has two U's. And definitely the double U sort of ideally is what's going on in this page. We have two pairs of snowmen, which can be split into the head and the body. These are dark, these are light, and there's this dark and light line snake thing, and yada, 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 yada. So
I drew him as snowmen too.
Yeah.
Except my theory was that that the in-laws wouldn't let Christopher draw him as snowman, and then so he only started, but then he had to go eat Christmas dinner or something, so he didn't have time, and he was mad at his in-laws for that reason.
And where do you pick up this anger directed against his in-laws?
Oh, because they're all probably in room 24.
But can you say well about anyone or anything? And isn't room 24 where you want to be in some sense? I mean, that's
Well,
like this.
kind of. I mean, I guess that's when you get married and everything, and you're happy, and you're in the room with with
Like
all
in the
your
comic, right?
yeah, and you're an
It's a complex thing. You cut out just there. Is that because you were typing?
oh yeah. Uh,
Yeah, it auto
but yeah,
mutes.
it auto muted. It must have because I was pressing the arrow keys to switch directions.
So here's room 22. This is one of the rooms that seems most significant to me, mainly because of all the Homestuck stuff in here is just chock full of Homestuck. A little
And there was,
unpleasant.
of course,
I
that
mean,
TV show,
I like
room
Homestuck.
22.
I still like Homestuck, even though most people can't even stand to hear the word at this point. But even this, even I find this room to have a little too much Homestuck. It seems it seems a little distasteful. But this is the room I think where the Batter Witch gets sort of manufactured out of disparate female Homestuck characters. I could go into it, but I'm sure it's obnoxious to you enough just hearing it raises a theory.
Oh, I'm okay with it.
I'd like to note that Ashley referred to this as a queen's head lamp, just on the basis that it reminded her of a chess queen in shape. It's not a real term for a specific lamp or whatever, but I think there may be something to that. It's like this is a pawn, and then this thing is going to be lowered onto it like Darth Vader's helmet or whatever to make it into a queen, potentially. This room is supposed to be red based on the narration, but the narration on one page sometimes refers to a different page, so in my understanding, so I'm not sure. I also really have no idea where the line is supposed to go here. I mean, there's a line there, but maybe it becomes two queens and then they go different directions. I don't know, but that seems to sort of interfere with the pawn queen metaphor. This is also another eye poking thing. Like this is the eye, this is the pupil, and then the word pupil, if you look it up in the etymology dictionary, it actually comes from the fact that you see a tiny reflection of yourself when you look into someone's eye, and so there's on that basis there was thought to be a little sort of doll-like figure inside our eyes, at least in like folk wisdom or whatever. That's what pupil means. It originally meant the doll-like figure inside the eye, rather than the aperture through which it was viewed. But so then this is turning that from a pawn into a queen, which is an interesting but scary upgrade. You become the bride or whatever. I haven't actually picked up any explicit connections between Maze and the Large Glass, but they both do seem, from my bullshit psychic reading of the collective unconscious, to sort of be echoing around in there and being worked on by various other people, their artistic works. So women's jewelry, her ring, herring, and then the room is red, so this is a red herring room. But maybe that just means that this is the next page, and this is the girl room, and the next room is the boy room, so that means boys equals girls. And I think I've said elsewhere previously that of all the dualities that are sort of broken down in Maze, darkness equals light, etc., up equals down, la-di-da, that boys and girls were something that Manson seemed to be keeping deliberately separate. Looking at this that I just put together now about 22 equaling 23 by virtue of red herring equaling the next page, I could be wrong. Then again, perhaps what this actually means is just that the next page, room 23, that is the red herring, that it's bullshit, and that there is no he, which is implied by this one here. Interestingly, I just noticed this is, I didn't flip this the correct way. This is just like mirrored upside down instead of turned. But this says OU, you turn upside down, it says NO. and the 34 becomes a he. So maybe instead of this saying there is no you, it's saying there is no he. You think?
A you and a he.
It could mean there is no hue. And that, darkness equals light, and can't we all be brothers regardless of the color of our skin? But I think it's a male-female thing because of all the male-female imagery in this room. I mean, there's the apple tree, says if Eve,
The F.
male
Female.
symbols. Oh, this is another good trick here. There is no he. These are the male symbol, right? The one we use for a bomb in ZZT because it means male bomb.
Yeah, I saw the thing. That was the first thing.
But so then what that means is you erase those, and there's no second hand either because of what it says in room 13. So that means that time doesn't exist basically, or at least that the clock has no hands. So it's sort of like, all right then. But then this one is pointing to the F. But upside down it's an L, sort of. I don't know. It's a very confusing room. They're all confusing. And of course, E, the letters of 7, and the other two letters are S and N, south and north, so you flip north and south, so I don't know. And on and no, and OU and NO, and no, Jesus. So many things. And then like the V symbol can mean join or meet, depending on which tied up it is, and I can never remember which one is which, but so then these are threes and la-di-da. It's really made this particular set of characters very confusing within his book. This is sort of another tumor just all on its own. This pattern of dots, I believe I did identify it as also appearing on the dice in room 42 or something. I can't remember. Anyway, we're going out of sequence. Not that you're supposed to read these in order, but...
That's true, yeah.
So, room 23, this is the boy room. Baseball gloves, baseball, broken window, boys will be boys. Stone tablets carried down from the mountain by Moses, very male figure, the beard and that. Everything right, nothing wrong, is the missing word. The time is right. I haven't seen anybody else put that together. It seems pretty easy, really, in retrospect, but I guess most puzzles do. I certainly didn't put it together on the first few go-throughs. And here again, he's doing the connected G crossbar, so his 3 Gs look like 3 6s. Delightful. Interesting thing, pretty sure this is a legit one. The second tablet here has 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on it, which, I only just stopped to think about this now, but if these are the 10 commandments, they're maybe abbreviated a little too much because there's no actual commandment here. This is just stone tablets with numbers on them from 1 to 10. It doesn't say to do anything.
That maybe they're written on the back.
That could be, yeah. Ben, if he were here, would launch into a long and mostly irrelevant story about how the Hebrew letters were supposed to be etched all the way through according to something he read, and that they were readable in the right orientation on both sides despite being holes all the way through the stone, which was a magical impossibility. But so then if you line these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, now it's mapped to the windows over here, and the 8th one is broken. So what does that mean? Is that because room 8 is at a weird angle? Is that because room 8 isn't in the right place in the book, and it's actually room 24 because 2 times 4 equals 8? Is it because of all these reasons and many more? I don't know.
Well, room 8 links to the picture of the clown, and then there is a baseball going into the window. So
where's this
my
picture?
theory is that Christopher Manson is telling you to quit clowning around.
Where's this picture of a clown?
It's in room 8.
Room 8 does have a picture of a clown in it.
Yes.
The picture over this 8, though, is just the sun, and then the 8 has darkness inside it.
Yeah. But,
So I'm pretty sure this is, this seems more appropriate for the room full of darkness, just because darkness equals light.
Because if you go to room 8, after seeing it in the 8th window, when you go to 8, they'll tell you to stop clowning around when you enter the door.
Yeah, well, they like to, they do like to tell you to do that because they're like the eyes of disapproving authority figures or the eyes of God or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I can tell they're at the bottom here, which sort of makes it a little more ridiculous, but I think the way they're supposed to be seen, and I noticed this even as a kid looking through this book, is like this, where they're up at the ceiling and they're considerably creepier because like they should be occluding each other, right? The figures, but they're not because they're just disembodied eyes. It'd be great to paint this on the kid's ceiling in glow-in-the-dark paint.
Yeah.
Or, just like up around the edges of the walls or something. I had stars on my ceiling and glowed in the dark as a child.
Yeah, stars are always fun.
This guy, he looks like he has a big old nose.
Yeah.
And this is, I believe this is Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff face is about. It has the same eyes as this. I can't really draw it very well. It's a particular, essentially it's the Comic Sans U and Y, although the Y is flipped. And see, this is a B. They're wearing the sunglasses. That spells buy, which is why those Hella Jeff t-shirts sell so well. I went back and forth a lot on trying to figure out just what Hussey's aims were with his exploitation of these various maze things to achieve ridiculous fame and fortune and power. I think it originally made just a band to sell t-shirts.
Most likely.
Not good, not evil, just opportunistic, and I mean, I can't imagine he thought it would even work. How could something this stupid work? I think it does. I warned you about stairs, bro. Oh, dog. Then this, and this is another Sweet Bro and Hell Jeff reference. What is it that this guy is so amazed by on the back of that sign? Yeah. Oh Lord, I have so many windows open.
And those are probably that's probably a reel or something. The guys.
What are you? A film reel?
Yeah, film reel.
Like Scott McCloud has a book, Understanding Comics, where he talks about a lot of stuff that's relevant to this and to ideas about consciousness and such in general, because comics is all about turning time into space. And he talks about how a movie reel is just a very slow comic, essentially. So this is a comic, is what this is. But he has a movie reel showing an eye opening in darkness. His is going vertically, though. I think it may have been unconsciously cued by this. I haven't asked him if he's read Maze, but I'm betting he has. He's pretty well read in terms of interesting stuff like that. But this is Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, number 25. Dude, are you scoping this bitch's ass? So that's what he's doing. Apparently, I don't think that was the intent. So then there's 6 boards on each of these 3 doors, and this one has 7. So 666, but then there's a 7 interpolated into it. So maybe this was room 7? Don't know. Don't really know what to make of this. This shape of these boards put together here also maps to the missing boards on room. It's the floor of the room that leads down to room 38, which is also the only text in the illustrations that seems non-diegetic. The 38 and that pointing down to 38 just seems to be sort of floating there. Here's room 26. A lot going on here. This is the most sort of overtly diabolical room, but at the same time, all the devils and stuff. I mean, this is just a play, so it's not really that sinister. Plus, this one has a giant salt shaker, which is just sort of silly. And there's a Saturn. I think that's because if you're in room 22 and you take the trident and all the fish stuff for being like a Neptune thing, because you still worship the old god Neptune, that this is supposed to like take the Neptune thing, be like, no, Neptune, Saturn, Satan, get it? This is about Satan. Wake up. No one believes in Neptune anymore. Where did you even go to school or whatnot? I was raised by completely non-religious parents in an incredibly non-religious town, so I'm sure I'm missing all sorts of like stuff that should be really, really obvious, like basic Bible stories you could learn from a Peanuts holiday special, and I just like, my parents were so liberal that we didn't even have TV or whatnot. We didn't own a television. I pirate TV shows all the time now, but so but like apparently there's the story of Saint Daniel and that sort of thing, and I imagine some of that stuff is intended to be used here. You know, these are like puzzles with solutions that involve theology, but I just don't know any theology other than what I've picked up myself. The 38 here. Oh, one of the things I forgot back on room 6, and this has probably been noticed by other people, is just all those who are visitors to this house must be aware that the individual reporting himself as the blah blah is none other than the blah. But this is this B. The word B looks an awful lot like an 8 and a backwards 3, which Anson does make an explicit connection between the backwards 3 and the E on page 3, just to flip them around. So this is a backwards B. And 38, I think, in this vocabulary could be taken to mean B, and maybe, possibly, 43, by the same token, to be A, although it's A as in, like, EH, which is, I mean, that's how you would spell eh, but it's not exactly an A, but, like, you know, this is another thing that lends credence to splitting this down the middle, is splitting A from B. Kind of, I don't know. In any case, so B, and then my reading of it just goes down B, S, A, you know, something or other here. B, Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, I guess, because of the Saturn. I think that's the most sensible view. And then this, these two hunchbacks shushing are that your hunch is
hunchback.
Well, maybe they're hunchbacks, maybe they're not. It's sort of ambiguous here, but the one on the poster in room 8 here with the umbrella that you're not supposed to tell anyone about, or whatever the fuck it is.
Okay, yeah, I remember him being a hunchback.
Where is room 8? Sorry about the swearing, by the way.
Oh no, it's quite all right.
Well, I'm not apologizing to you. I'm apologizing to the viewer. I know I swear because I'm an incredibly disagreeable person. We tend to pick up that sort of vocabulary. But there's a hunchback.
Yeah.
There's a similar sort of hat.
Hunchback clown.
Yes. Well, he has a little fez now.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, see, I thought they were rabbits, so I just kind of drew them as rabbits.
They were rabbits. Well, that makes sense because, like, you know, he's got this sort of witch-like face, right? Seems
yeah.
It's the same face as the one on, where are we?
20-something.
On page 16. And see, this face here has a jester's cap, right? Instead of a fez.
Yeah.
And the jester's cap is over the that bricked up doorway that has the black, that has the brick missing, right? And the jester's cap also sort of, you know, it's the same as rabbit ears, right? That's like, you know, the artist Pogo on YouTube who does the edits of Disney films and stuff like that. Just sort of chops them up, not really sentence mixing for the purpose of making them say new things in words, but just music.
You'll have to link me to that later.
Well, he's pretty popular. It actually, my name is Bagotron, which I remember telling Nadia once, and she's like, "Oh, that's a terrible name. Did he name himself that?" And I was like, "No, his parents named him Bagotron. Of course he did. What kind of question is that?" Asleep. Anyway, he goes by Pogo now, but his logo is of a rabbit, basically a very abstract rendering of a rabbit with the ears and with an eye, which is just a black hole. Just one big black, like a visor or something. And I think that what that comes from is the jester's cap over the bricked up doorway in room 39, which I don't have on here because I only went up to about 26. But let me just see here. Room 39. Interestingly, there is no sweep row in Hell Jeff. Number 39, it gets skipped. But, oh wait, that's some of these I meant to put in the main directory, but the files didn't copy because I already had rooms named Room 9 or whatever. From you ever see The Lost Room on, can't remember what TV network it was on?
No.
It was a sci-fi miniseries about this hotel room, a motel room actually, Sunshine Motel in just outside of New Mexico, sort of Gallup, New Mexico rather, which disappeared for no good reason one day, room 10, and it also, like, the memory of it and all the associations, the objects, and person in it had with anything else were disappeared. It was sort of a, like a doorway to nothingness kind of a dealie, but they still existed. They just didn't get sort of recognized by reality in some way, and so they had this amazing power, and like they all had different powers, like the umbrella, for instance. I believe it's a yellow umbrella, and I only know this from the notes for the show. It doesn't actually appear in the show. It makes people think that they know you when you're carrying it, which, based on RPG games I played, is a very, very powerful thing. There we go, this is room 39. So, Jester's cap, bricked up doorway. So this is I think this is why you think of the guys in the theater as being rabbits.
Ah.
But I admit that is a few steps away. Here's this duck toy again.
Oh, good.
This is where Rickroll comes from, because the duck has wheels. Rickroll was originally duck roll, which was just a wooden duck that would roll on. Well, I don't know if it was wooden, but it had wheels. And then there's an R and a wheel. So see, it's not as though Manson is referencing Rickrolls here. He unintentionally spawned them. I think. I legitimately do think, and I may be crazy, but... And a Rickroll is an odd sort of twist because it's this, it's this betrayal, right? It's like you go to a link expecting it to be one thing, and it's not the thing that you thought it was going to be. Instead, it's this other thing. But instead of being like something that screams at you or whatever, it's just this pleasant song from a couple decades ago about how your trust will never be betrayed. And it's obnoxious, it's an unpleasant stimuli precisely because it's so inoffensive. It's like that's the secret, that's the dark thing that's at the end of the link is, Rick Astley singing a nice song.
Yeah.
It also starts with a nice little drum break. That's important too, it's just the,
Yeah, that is a good track. And that's news to me that the duck in there inspired duck roll.
Yeah, well, this is my theory. I think it also inspired the Mohawk in a wheelchair thing from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Have you seen that episode with the Plutonians?
I have not.
Well, that was a good episode. They're pirating cable through a miniature Stargate. But they don't want anyone to know it's a Stargate because then they'll get sued. So they put it in a wheelchair and give it a mohawk. Like the wheels and mohawk on this duck. Which, I don't understand why it's a duck. I still don't get that. Do you have any ideas? Oh, you know what? It's not a duck, it's a rabbit. It's the duck-rabbit illusion. I guess it's sort of a barfing rabbit. I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Probably eating a carrot. That makes more sense. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so rabbit. Rabbit, rabbit. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. I think of myself as a rabbit sometimes. I have a character named Nelson Novak, same thing as the Pogo logo, and this was done totally unconsciously, who has he's a jester sort of a character. He has a jester's cap, and he has a black visor instead of eyes. And I only later put together that it was because of this. I think the wall is long gone now. I think, essentially, his name is Nelson Novak. I think his costume is what the wall has become. It's a much more mobile thing, and it's something which is not something you would really want to get rid of, because then he would just be naked. And no one wants that, because he's some sort of Noid or something. I don't know what he is. But he's a riff master / phone jacker is his character class. He's an RPG character. They're supposed to be sort of sound like hacker bard classes, but what they really both are is comedians. Comedians who are sort of distort reality in different ways. One of them after the fact, one of them during it. So kind of a very unusual relationship to the world. That said, he's not actually funny in the comic. He's completely serious. Or, well, he has sort of as a character, he has a totally business-like, munchkin-y RPG character attitude, but he most of the time is actually just saying what the player playing him says, because the player playing him is Neil Gaiman's head on John Arbuckle's body, and he doesn't really make an effort to roleplay. Nelson is the character in my comic I most identify with, which does not speak well to my mental health, I think.
That's a pretty good character.
That said, Manson himself is a little bit weird. This table of multiplication facts has some there's a rather glaring error in it. 1 times 1 does not equal 2, it equals 1. But according to Manson, it equals 2. Interesting. So, and then this is yet another thing to sort of humorously conflate different numbers on the signs over the doors. Although we don't know what 9 times 9 equals, and then there's a blank here where I suppose you're supposed to guess what 11 times 11 equals, or 0 times 0, or other unspecified math facts. Maybe it's just these specific things which are different, and like when you see the 3-3 sign, that actually means room 9, and 1-1 means room 2. I don't know. There's also a thing going on with this. If you see some of my other writings, they tend to be much more oppositional, I suppose, in their take on what's going on. Seeing this as a conflict between Manson and the people who came after him and recontextualized stuff, but I see it as a much more nuanced thing at this point, at least potentially. It's just a sort of a nuanced ball of potential. No idea how accurate any of that is. This is a bottle that's unlabeled, which makes you think of the bottle from Alice in Wonderland that says "Drink Me," which makes people shrink. This bottle is pointing room 11. The sign potentially says "this way" or just "sway," as one would sway if they were drunk. So the idea is that if you are, the drinking solution to this room leads you into room 11, which is the trap room. It's the little cage room, that buzzer and line that says, "For assistance, please ring hell," or "ring bell," or whatever. But then yet another reason not to ring the bell is that, or push the buzzer, or whatever it is these guys telling you to fucking shut up because they're trying to watch you play.
Yeah. So
mixed messages there. And then, of course, at this point in our culture, the clown sitting in the front row of the theater like that, I mean, this is, like, that's where Crow T. Robot or Tom Servo sits, can't remember which one. And they talk during the movie constantly.
Yeah.
These things don't mean what they meant when Manson wrote this. Interesting fact about Mystery Science Theater. We've reached the end, haven't we?
That is the end.
The reason I stopped here 26 is just that I sort of got sidetracked while doing this, splitting them apart, and figured I'd better post something before I completely made a mess of things and no one could understand what I was talking about anymore. But the format of Mystery Science Theater of watching a movie and just adding amusing color commentary to it as though you were just sitting in the front row of the theater was actually thought of by Groucho Marx back when he was on TV, and he pitched it as an idea for a show, and he would be him and his wife watching a film and making fun of it, but network said no. It's interesting to imagine like an alternate universe in which they had greenlit it and we had something like that back in the days of black and white TV.
Yeah, and of course, if they had the multimedia to do it in their own home too, they didn't.
Well, I don't know if that really has anything to do with anything.
They wouldn't have anywhere to upload it to either. Just have a bunch of film reels. And...
I see. If you're saying that if Groucho Marx had been alive today, he still could have done it, even though he didn't get it in the studio. That is true. That's true. But kind of irrelevant to the point I was making, which was just to imagine this other world where we had something Mystery Science Theater like since like the 50s.
Yeah. That's true. That would be interesting.
There's also an association here between tree and three, because the 3 barrels, and I have to say 3 upside down or something. Susie insisted you could. Susie is a voice in my head. I, at this point, don't even remember how she got there from here. It doesn't look like a upside down 3 to me.
You put that there for inspiration or something.
I don't know.
You pasted that recently for the rabbit ears.
But it's important to bear in mind, I guess. I think one of the important things I would tell people who are reading this book and trying to interpret it allegorically is that it's like what you're seeing here is this is like a Google Street view of the Mansion of the Imagination. This is from 1985, and a lot of these walls and doors and stuff have changed. So, you know, plan to, you know, go on some detours if you're actually attempting to make an exploration through here, because it's a lot bigger and there's construction fucking everywhere. Especially like a movie, because, you know, tear up your floors, tear up your walls, rebuild them, just make crazy things that only you know what they are.
Yeah, I think it still reminds me of Maniac Mansion, but.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you, you know, the Lego Movie is excellent, so you should see it regardless, but especially if stuff like this creeps you out, and, you know, it's you imagine Manson as being the bad guy who's like the leader of some sort of evil conspiracy that will abduct you if you figure out its secrets. Unlikely, given how badly most people have done it. I mean, I feel like I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg here, and it's growing faster than I can solve it, but in some ways that's the kind of problem you want to have, right? I mean, I like solving puzzles when I do it. But if you find this creepy, you should watch the Lego Movie, because even if you want to be paranoid, you are behind the times in terms of the cultural conversation. The villain at this point is the little sister. It's not the dad. He stopped being scary a long time ago.
Yeah.
This matches up rather nicely. I think it's just coincidental. There's this little bit of, and I've tried, you know, overlaying the pages on each other. Like, one of my thoughts was if you like actually took some scissors and cut holes in the pages wherever there are doors, that what was revealed through them would be like an advent calendar and would have additional secrets in it or something. But I have not actually done this with a physical copy of the book, because I only have one or two, and they're, you know. But I should make photocopies of the pages and try that. And try just cutting them up along whatever lines strike my fancy and see if I can find anything in there, because I'm pretty sure there's got to be something like that. It's amazing how many different ways of looking at things. Like, this is something people have said about me when looking for something nice to say, because I'm clearly insane, is that I have so many different ways of looking at the world. But Manson clearly did too. He hides all sorts of hidden messages and secrets and stuff and things in just an astounding variety of different ways.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot going on, and I think that's a good theory of replacing the doors with the sort of a glimpse of what you think you'd see in that door, which Room 22 already has something.
Yeah.
Or that doorway to 22.
Yeah, and it's this room is significant stuff. The Homestuck eye-poking thing. Homestuck does not have nearly as persistently an eye-poking theme as Maze, but the one eye-poking thing that it has is particularly nasty, and I believe it maps to this room, which is Snowman, who, despite her name, is female and black in Homestuck, pokes out Jack's eye with a cigarette and a cigarette holder, which is like, this is the cigarette, this is the burning end, and this is the eye, it's the whole floor and stuff, so it's like, you know, ouch in this room here.
Yeah, I think the Waking Life movie probably had the more disturbing of the eye poking.
Yeah, Burnett, yeah, that had the same idea with that guy in prison walking around ranting about how he was going to punish everyone who put him there and knitting needle in the air and so on.
Yeah, that's the guy.
I think the exact quote was, for every second I spend in this hellhole, they're going to spend a year in living hell.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He just sort of peters out at the end, though, because, you know, he's in prison.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Eye-poking. And then there's the whole Odin thing, too. Like, a lot of this stuff, like, you know, YOU, UR2, or whatever, URI, and all the different dumb interpretations of this and pawns and the 2 versus 1 and splitting and recombining in that. There's a lot of places where you can get the sense that this is maybe something that's not an interaction between two different people, but an interaction between someone and themselves, in terms of the way the story is templated between you and yourself. So you're poking out your own eye, you know? You're doing it to yourself. You are both the victim and the perpetrator. And which, I think the obvious reaction to that is, oh, well, don't do it then. Stop hitting yourself. But, well, burning out your eye with a lit cigarette is maybe not the most pleasant way to do it. There are allegorical readings, at least, in which removing your eye is the same thing to do. The story of Odin and whatnot. Somebody wants to... It's Lewis. Oh, the Q&A function. He's asking a question, apparently, and we're not looking at the correct thing to see it. Yeah, see, I started this app with the Q&A thing. I have no... I don't...
I'll click it and then see if it...
Oh, there it is. It doesn't make any kind of noise or anything to tell you that this works. So I apologize. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they've been asking stuff here. So, yeah, you're in the discussion section now. So
yeah,
I apologize for not looking at this thing. It's Google's fault. So basically, he's just disagreeing with the things I say. Oh, well, just this one. He says, Brickroll is not inspired by the R in the wheel in room 39. Not directly, but there's a duck.
And
it's a rabbit, too, because when does Q&A start? What is Beethoven's Ninth Suite? Do you know?
I do. It's they mainly use it for the theme of the Clockwork Orange, and it's it pretty much is the central plot of the movie, and I don't know the name of it. I'm sure it's called The Nine.
It's this piece of music that he really likes, right?
Yeah, it's a piece of music that he really likes, and
doesn't like being forced to watch the things that they're showing him.
Yeah. And
so that's a situation where you prefer to be blind, eh?
Yeah.
Being forced to watch stuff.
And of course, instead of eye poking, it's eye gap. It's eye opening and.
Right, and having his eyes taped open and being forced to watch films of ultra violence or whatever retarded sci-fi term they used for it. I had a friend who was German or something who was very unimpressed by the book because what seemed to most English readers to be interesting made-up future slang was actually just Russian or something. They call people droog in it. It's the Russian word for friend or something. I don't actually know any languages other than English, so I can't be snooty about that sort of thing. I wish I could.
And
why can't girls have fancy beds?
Yeah, that was about that one room with the fancy bed that I said could be a girl's bed. That's a good question.
It could be a girl's bed. I don't know. To me, it doesn't even look like a bedroom. It's just like a room that happened to have a bed in it because furniture was being moved around or something.
Now, I was feeling a little bit because they had the pictures of the people on the wall, and that's kind of what you have in a bedroom is like the ballerina and the.
Should you be believing in yourself? Oh, I'm supposed to select these in order to answer them? I guess that's to put little bumps on the timeline that say, now you're answering this question or whatever for people looking later.
Okay. No. Yeah.
No,
there you are.
What the ramifications of selecting it are. But should you keep believing in yourself? Here he's referring to the fact that his interpretation of the end of a horn, which is technically called a bell, I learned, on sticking the doorway to room 22 in room 43, I don't remember, is that it was a bell leaving, and it's framed by some pots and signs that say things on signs, sometimes backward.
Yeah. That was a good one. That's outside of our range of 26 rooms, but
I think the intended reading there is trap yourself and peek, as in peek at room 24, and you looked at it, so you're trapped. But Lewis's interpretation was that it was a bell leaving and meant keep bell leaving in yourself, with peek read as keep, which I think it is spelled keep. It's only peek backwards. But one of the words is backwards. No, it's trap. Trap is backwards as part. But see, this is just a problem with the words themselves. It's like our words are so terrible. Our language is awful. I hate it. I hate English.
Is the Maze Runner movie as good as the book?
I have not read Maze Runner or seen the movie, and from the previews, don't intend to. Is this where the questions go? Yes.
Yes.
The symmetry of door numbering. 43, the symmetry of door numbering. What is 43? 43 is the one with the hole in the floor, right?
Yes.
Let's get that up. I'll paste it in. Oh, this is your drawing of room 43.
Oh, nice. Keep believing in yourself.
Whoa, I almost pasted porn in here because I have another room labeled 40. Okay, it's because it's 430 wide. So I'm just searching my entire images directory. It's a naked girl lying on a couch. Let's see. Just open. Who's saying something to me? No, no, no. For the room with the bed, the fancy bed. Oh, the room 10. He's talking about the symmetry of the numbers in room 10. Okay.
It almost looks symmetrical. Pasted over mine.
Other symmetrical, or that's
okay.
Just 430 pixels wide. Room 10, I think maybe is my favorite room, just in terms of like the sort of the feel of it in the book. I think mainly because of the paint and the blank sign. I like the invitation to extend the maze and make your own horrible rooms and put spike pits in them. Well, I guess that was unspoken, but that's what Susie would do, is put spikes in pits. Endlessly entertaining. So okay. Room 10. Yes, indeed. The 41, 14, and there's this double doors in both cases. And then over here we have two more doors. And this one you see an archway or a gateway. And like we have the light streaming in, which sort of, that and the luggage make me think of, like a journey to the hereafter or whatever. Like this is the gates of heaven, and maybe these are the gates of hell via the volcano. Maybe what you're supposed to paint about these ones is abandon all hope, dudes who enter, though you don't really have enough space.
Okay.
And then upside down, you can use 4, 3, and 1 to spell hell. 1, 1, 3, 4 upside down, 4, 3, 1, 1 hell, or 7s if you prefer uppercase L's, but we don't have rooms here going up to 77. But like this is what I mean. You only need to go up to 45 is because you can just use 1s instead of 7s for letters and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you could make sure that unlabeled door is the gateway to hell, maybe.
Maybe. This also reminds me of the scene in Clerks the Animated Series, episode 1, where they're up on the roof and there are two doors they can go through. One is a big set of double doors that says Maze of Death on it. It's painted in huge letters and has like skulls and stuff draped around it. And then the other one is just an unlabeled normal sort of door that leads to some sort of stairs. And
that lead to a ward room or something, or like a burn ward?
We'll find out, because what happens is that Dante wants to go through the unlabeled one, and Randra's like, that could be anything. I think we should go with that maze thing. And Dante's like, the maze of death. He's like, that's the one. And then they do, and it's like immediately leads to a pit, and they fall. And then we cut to ages later when they've escaped. It's like, oh, I can't believe we made it out of there. I thought the Minotaur had you. But yeah, so we never find out what the unlabeled one goes to. Because Randall is just such an incredibly bad guide. But, no worse than the guide in Maze itself, because indeed the guide will not take you through this unlabeled door, because I suppose unless you extend the book and write additional narration for the guide, which you could do.
That's true.
I mean, when I see doors like that, I think closet. That could just be a closet.
Yeah, I suppose it does look like a room with just a bed in it, like someone's moving in.
Yeah,
there's so many doors.
Why could be at that angle?
Yeah. And where's the chair where you can sit next to the bed? So like during movies, you can They always have that chair where you sit down if they're sick or something.
Yeah, Nadia had sofas in every room of her house, and I thought it was obnoxious and ostentatious. I was like, why do you need a sofa in your room next to your bed? She's like, no, I love the sofa in my room. I sit in it all the time.
I guess it kind of makes sense. So you have somewhere else to sit down. You have another point of view,
Mm-hmm.
or you have another place to put down your laptop or something. So you're not always, what angle.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't know.
I wish I could talk to her more often. I invited her to this hangout along with a bunch of other people, but most of my good friends who I actually like are busy medical doctors. So
That's good. That's
I'll
it.
just say that because I know there's actually people watching. Who's the other? It must be Lewis. Let's see what the other questions are here. I just got back from dinner and can watch again now. Did you answer my other questions? Okay, so maybe it's Ben. I should probably start at the top because
Yeah.
apparently is the game 24 based on Maze? What's 24? Is that a card?
There's also a movie called 24s, or no, there's a series called 24. So
It's actually only 16-hour days though because of ads. I don't know what the game 24 is, so sorry, I can't answer that.
maybe it's the 24 based on the TV show.
It did already, but what about the mining gnome on page 9? Mining gnome.
Page 9.
Here's page 9.
All right, I'm at page 9 right now. And where is the mining gnome?
I see a guy in a sombrero. Oh, this is room 9 from Lost Room.
That's pretty relevant. I would.
It might be.
I mean, I should take a screenshot of that. I don't know if it'll make an annoying noise, but
Why would it? Oh, it did.
yes, there we go. That way, it can preserve for posterity. But
Okay, here's the correct room 9, assuming it's not room 6 upside down. Mining gnome. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't see a gnome. I see maybe Theodore Roosevelt. And there's a mouse. There's an apple. Or possibly just a ball with a fly on it. A fly ball, if you will. An angel. Broken spade. This ties in with room 27 and the spade and the heart and how a spade is just a heart upside down with a handle on it and the handle being broken off and the T. And the T, it goes to the words that start with T on the sign in room 42 and yada yada. It's kind of, it's just another darkness equals light thing. It doesn't, I don't know where to go with it particularly. It does explain the Into the Abyss name of one of the fan sites of this. Which is run by somebody who allegedly has solved the puzzle. I doubt he's actually solved it in its entirety, but maybe. I posted some incredibly crazy and somewhat offensive stuff on there, and he didn't allow it. He moderated it away, which is understandable, I suppose.
where was it moderated?
It was the Into the Abyss in the comments.
They moderated your stuff. That's weird.
Yeah, well,
I don't see why they would.
It's unexpected. This is White Raven, who Vincent makes a point of saying the real name of every time he mentions it, but I don't even remember personally. If, as you say, MAZE is an acronym, what does it stand for? That must have been you who was saying that.
An acronym of. Let me go to the question because
Yeah,
I was on the questions, but now I'm all frozen for some reason. Oh, probably because I'm looking at a picture of the hangout.
Yeah, that's a screenshot, my friend. That's just Google Street View from 5 minutes ago.
Oh, right. Let me click X. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Back to Q&A.
Yeah, like trying to explain to someone schizophrenic who you don't know where they actually are through the collective unconscious by allegory, what time is, has an annoying aspect to it, which is very similar to like trying to verbally instruct someone who's maybe 67 how to use the computer. Be like, no, you need to right click it. Okay, what are you seeing in the upper left of your screen?
Well, thanks for unscreenshotting me at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a mistake I make as well, admittedly.
Yeah.
What is the colander-looking item in the room with Orson? Orson. It means Orson.
And of course, I clicked on the wrong thing. I clicked on showcase, so I was like, why isn't that working? It's because it looked like a Q&A with little note things, but
Yeah, put Into the Abyss in the showcase. That's just for links, I think.
all right, I've got what was the question? I'm on questions now. What is the collar-looking
Colander in the room with Orson. Maybe he means room 16. There's like some weird stuff in that room, like a grinding machine and a thing with a party hat with holes in it and an urn, and I have no idea what that stuff is.
Well, I'm on room number 9, so 9 plus 7 would make 16.
That's
there's a collar.
That's true. I can verify that.
It looks like a.
But I don't see is he saying that the giant there is Orson Welles? I guess he looks a little like Orson Welles.
Yeah, he is Orson Welles, and
Okay.
and that thing that looks like a colander is a pot that's got a party hat on it with holes.
It doesn't look much like a colander. It looks like an urn with a hat on it with holes. I feel like I've seen one of those, like at a Piers Imports or something.
Yeah, the actual hat looks more like a.
Based on which my assumption would be that it is decoration and does nothing.
Yeah.
Everything they sell fits that description, but it presumably did have a purpose at some point.
It probably means that Orson Welles was a big party man.
See, this is where like something like Google Goggles is supposed to be useful, but actually isn't. But it can identify the Eiffel Tower for you. I was taking a picture of the movie poster for what was it called? As Above, So Below. Was that actually the name of the movie, or was it the tagline? Yeah, that was the name of the movie, and then the tagline was "The only way out is down," and it's just like this black on red picture of the Eiffel Tower, and there's a bunch of skulls instead of the ground, and you'd take a picture of it in Google Goggles, it's like, that's the Eiffel Tower! It's like, thanks, I know.
Yeah, I've never had any of those pairs of goggles.
Fun fact, the Eiffel Tower was built for the World's Fair, and then they just left it up, even though it was intended to be a temporary structure, because everyone liked it.
Yeah, the Eiffel Tower is a very magical place.
You say that as though you've been there. Have you been to the Eiffel Tower?
No, but I saw pictures of it in Street View, and I was very inspired.
Yeah, I've never
That's
been there.
the closest.
Have you ever been to France in general?
Been to where?
Oh, okay. Lewis says next to the shovel. There's a gnome next to the what on earth is he talking about?
Who's been sleeping in my bed and room? Okay, one question at a time.
I don't see a gnome. You're going to have to trace it, Lewis. I don't see a gnome. There's no gnome.
In
Do you see a gnome?
All right, I'm going back to room 9. That was the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking. All right, I do not see a gnome off the top of my head here. I see a shovel and see some apples, and I see, like a warrior. I don't know if he's fighting or if he's posing because the other half of the page is torn off.
Can I invite Lewis to the hangout?
Yeah, potentially. You
How do
can.
I do that? Oh, here we are. Blue and Ben. I invited them. Who's been sleeping in my bed? Room 10. The umbrella. Or the Morton Salt Girl, whose umbrella it is. That's my guess. The mining gnome's Rumpelstiltskin. There's no gnome. This is just like Buzzlewitz. It's this thing that you're pretending is there.
Buzzlewitz is real.
Hello, Ben.
Hey, what's going on?
We're answering questions. It's Q&A.
Great, I bet there's some useful questions. How do I look at them?
We figured that out eventually. You push the
Oh yeah, I see them.
Q&A app on the left, I think.
Oh, okay, let's start with this first one about Rumpelstiltskin. That looks important.
Yeah, we don't see a gnome. Where is this
Well, the
alleged?
one in room 9, the mining gnome.
Where is this? Can you screen share room 9?
Wait, let's bring Lewis in here. He's better with the gnome.
Well, we'll deal with that when Lewis gets in.
Do you want me to add Lewis?
Okay, wait a minute. So do these questions get added at the top or the bottom now?
Yeah, add Lewis.
Yeah, I added.
Added. Oh wait.
I already. I went to the Eiffel Tower once. It's bigger than you'd expect.
I should close the video I have playing because it's on a delay from what's going on here.
Yeah, good idea.
Good. Now I'm not hearing an echo of what we were saying like 15 seconds ago.
Which bingo number is called the sexy legs of bingo?
Wait, no, it says we're currently answering the Eiffel Tower one.
Oh, you're right. I'm doing this wrong. Well, that's not even a question. Moving on.
Yeah, but it's viewed. Anyway, Lewis says that the gnome is next to the shovel.
Yeah, he mentioned that already. I still don't see a gnome.
Now, you see how there's that little mallet hammer thing on the ground next to the shovel?
It's the handle of the shovel. It's been broken off.
Yeah, well, by the gnome. Because the shovel was too large for a tiny gnome to wield, so he had to break it so it would be shorter. That's how you know there's a gnome.
Make it into more of a spade. I see, so it's an implied gnome.
Right, yeah, you don't actually see the gnome, but everything in this scene betrays its presence.
And that's which bingo number is called the sexy legs of bingo. Next question.
So thank you for writing in, Lewis.
Did she even have a sofa in the bathroom? Don't know.
I was asking about Nadia.
Don't know. You'd have to ask her. I did invite her, but I think I did.
Yeah, that's not going to do anything.
Usually in medical school of being a doctor.
Are you going to invite more people?
Sure, go ahead if they're people relevant. I put
Oh, never mind then.
Even if they're irrelevant.
an invitation, but didn't get too. I mean, I'm happy with having you guys here. That's 3 people is about right, I think, and you're relevant people.
Thank you.
What I'm
I
talking.
strive for relevance.
Does the lost room turn you into Santa, or is that only if you wear the Santa beard from the hotel room? Well, there is no Santa beard from the hotel room. However, items can be destroyed when in the room, otherwise they're indestructible. And if you have destroyed an item in the room, then some other item you brought in there becomes one of the new objects instead. I think they're called objects, like with a capital O. So you could create a magical Santa beard, but one does not exist.
Yeah,
And
I really should have capitalized beard there.
no, it does not turn you into Santa. It doesn't really do anything to you. In fact, everything loses its magical abilities when it's in the room. It's just a totally normal room. It's only when the things that are supposed to be non-existent are removed from it that they start acting glitchy.
You know, I don't think I have the ability to invite people to this.
Oh, well, who did you want me to invite?
Nobody relevant, random friend of mine you've never heard of.
All right, well, I mean, I'll still invite him.
It's not actually a good idea.
Okay.
I don't even know why I added these certain people, but why
Is
not?
that the one I told you to tell something to at the end of my latest comic?
Nope.
Did you tell her that thing?
Oh, I showed her that your comic had changed to incorporate that conversation.
All right, well, that's good enough. Rickroll's not inspired by the R in the wheel in room 39, not a question. What is your favorite?
That's a good point, though. The Rickroll wasn't inspired by that. So thank you for writing in, Lewis.
Well, what was?
I hope you have an amazing day.
Tell me, Ben, what was Rickroll inspired by?
That was some forum meme. It started out being about linking to some other random video, but then they decided to make it about Rick Astley instead because...
What was the original random video?
I don't remember. I don't think I ever saw it.
On wheels. It was called Duck Roll. That's where the roll comes from in Rickroll. The duck with wheels would roll onto the video, and you'd be like, oh, there's this duck.
Because you don't like ducks.
I guess I never really got that one either. I understand the duck in Maze, though, because looking at it, it's a rabbit eating a carrot instead of a duck with a mohawk. It's the old duck-rabbit illusion.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like a duck. It has that odd crest that's not like the crest a duck has.
Yeah, it's more like a mohawk.
Yeah.
But it makes more
It's
sense.
like a hoopoe bird.
What bird?
Hoopoe. H-O-O-P-O-E.
Hoopoe.
Yeah.
Hoopoe.
Never heard of.
I've never heard of a bird such as that. What does it look like?
Oh, they're very real.
Okay, then. Well, what is your favorite?
I think they're orange.
Well, why don't you get up a picture of one and I'll screen share it and I'll switch to you.
I've got screen share? Okay, just a second.
Mhm.
And then meanwhile, I'll just add some animations to my windows.
Okay, here, I'm going to screen share. 3, 2, 1, Hoopo.
All right, look at that. Well, it is a real bird, I'll be darned. Yeah, just,
Yeah, I think Google Images believes it's real, so you should too.
Wow.
I should probably not
Sorry.
scroll down too far. I don't know if I have safe search on.
What about that blue one? Is that Hoopo or is that something else?
What is that? That is hoopo.jpg. Huh. I didn't know they came in blue.
What is your favorite room in Maze, and what inspired you to like it more than the others?
Great question, Benhi.
I would go with room 10.
Room 10.
The blank sign that you're allowed to write your own room number on or something. It seems like an explicit invitation to start coloring outside the lines. What about you guys?
I'd say probably room 22 because we're in room 22, and then there's a TV show, room 222, which I think is inspired from. But
Well, I've never seen that show.
neither have I, but it inspires me.
Why is Tigger in room 9 now?
I don't know.
What is happening here in your video?
Oh, he's just bored, I guess.
There's a butterfly and flowers.
Yeah, he should be in room 22 though, because that would be more. That would be more interesting. But
That's where the party is, it's true.
yeah, and that's.
Oh, Ben, did you have a favorite room? I skipped you because it was your question, but...
I'm going to say room number 1 because it's the start of it all. It's the biggest mystery that confronts people to begin with. And that's why girls can't have fancy beds.
well, what about room 0 or whatever it is, the one before room 1?
I didn't like that one. I skipped it.
That has the shortcut in it that lets you bypass everything.
Well, I was so in a hurry that I bypassed the shortcut.
Why can't girls have fancy beds? This is an excellent question, but you'll have to, you should all write your senator about that one.
Wait, did you claim that girls can't have fancy beds?
No.
I think they.
Are you talking about that room in Maze with the fancy bed?
Yeah, we were talking about the one in the hallway, and that you said I don't think it is, and so that might have been an implication that you don't think they should have a fancy bed.
All right, well, if I gave that impression, I apologize deeply, and I recognize that time fan is your word as well. Can you do flubble instead? Flubble, the significance of the things in flubble is, if anything, even more difficult to decode, because it was definitely not consciously intended as a solvable puzzle, and probably, in many cases, intended as an unsolvable one.
No, I meant visually. Could you bring up flubble on the screen instead of Maze?
Oh, I could, yeah.
That was why I was watching this video, but I didn't see any flubble.
Well, we did that at the beginning. I read.
Well, I'll watch that earlier then.
Yeah, there's some. Well, you can only watch it in the future. Don't go back to the past, please. It messes things up for us.
Okay.
But you can watch it in the future because things sort of. It's complicated.
Right, so it loops around and eventually
There's a good explanation of how time works earlier on. So.
Yeah, you can watch stuff even if it's not live.
I'll switch to.
You can just watch it in your mind's eye.
Let's see. So flubble, and one of the other storylines here, which seemed relevant to Maze, was why is the boiled lobster singing?
Oh, the film noir sort of thing. I liked that storyline.
I could read that one.
Do you have those comics with you?
What'd you say?
Do you have those comics available? Because they're not online anymore.
Yeah, they are. They've been online consistently forever, I think.
I thought he took them offline.
I remember other people having problems getting to them. I never have had a problem.
Okay, I'm going to flubble.com right now. It's just an image saying closed.
Yeah, well, maybe you should use Google instead.
Ugh.
You
Google.
can use Q&A, though, before going back to flubble. Okay. I just got back from dinner and can watch it now. Did you answer my other questions? Yes.
Oh, good.
What is Beethoven's Ninth Suite? I don't know. Do you know, Ben?
No, I can answer that. It's Revelation by Moonlight.
Interesting.
You got it.
Probably relevant. It sounds mystical and magical.
It is. This is why most of the rooms in Maze are about Beethoven.
Well, some of them have a lot of moons in them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are about Beethoven, aren't they? That's right. I think it was credit goes to David Gentile on that one.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I haven't been keeping up with that stuff. I don't read it.
Nobody asked how magnets work this time.
Well, I think we did. There was some magnet stuff on room 4 paperclip.
Okay, that's good enough for an answer.
His face is even with the second stair to room 18. So wait, now Lewis is saying you can see the gnome? I thought this was an implied gnome.
Oh, yeah, let's bring up the gnome picture again.
You can see.
Where's gnome.png, Andy?
I do. Hold on.
Great. You're not screen sharing.
No, well, I have to bring up the picture. Oh, Lord. Okay, so.
Yeah. So, oh wait, I got the screen share too.
And Lewis says you can see the gnome. Great question, Lewis, and we'll be happy to get to that once we resolve our technical difficulties.
Okay, so here we are. So we are going to the Gnome Reserve today, and we wondered if you wanted to come. It should be fun. Gnome Reserve? Gnome Reserve. Best ever. Okay, well, we're leaving in 10 minutes. Gnome nets, fishing rods loaned free of charge. The gnomes begin to think I'm one of them.
That's a good Gabe voice.
This is in room 24, though. I'm not sure where he's getting room 9.
Yeah, that is a good Gabe voice.
It's Gabe.
Sorry, yeah, that's a good voice.
He's a girl. You can tell because he wears 2 shirts.
It might just be.
There's a Pac-Man shirt, and beneath that, an orange shirt. That was not the gnome that whatever it was, though. That was some other image that I accidentally.
Oh, I see. Lewis also asks, his feet are next to the shovel handle? Which I think is also about the mining gnome.
Does he use a question mark?
No, he doesn't.
Question,
but
that is implied.
Yeah, he added a question at the end.
Here's gnomegreen.jpg.
Oh, there it is.
I used to send this to Lemmer all the time to annoy him because it was one of the only pictures I had saved on this alternate computer I would sometimes be using.
Remember when you made that Gangnam Style video with the gnome in it?
I don't remember a gnome in that.
Yeah, there was Gnome Chomsky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forget sometimes that he is a gnome. I don't know why I'm looking for gnome.jpg. That was a ridiculous idea.
There it is.
No, that's
That's a good comic.
it's an odd comic.
Yeah, that's one of the better Beetle Bailey strips I've seen.
That's not a high bar.
No. That misbehaving soldier.
Has anybody else seen Romeo and Juliet?
You mean Romeo and Juliet?
I mean Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. No.
Go. I downloaded it just because Kristen Shaw did one of the voices. She voices a ceramic frog. It was better than I expected. It was. I'm glad I watched it. It's some interesting, like weird cartoon physics because they're made of ceramic and they also move like people. And
I've seen Tromeo and Juliet, but that's unrelated.
Now this is all done with garden gnomes in the yards of people who have a petty feud over whose lawn is prettier or whatever, and then the families of gnomes have a feud more analogous to the one in Shakespeare's story.
See, you make it sound good. Now we all have to watch it.
And I'm really not expecting most people to watch it honestly because there's other things to do and such. But it's worth noting for you then, and this is spoilers. So
wait, was this
fast forward?
Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet, and also Romeo and Juliet. If you don't know the ending to that somehow.
No, I've seen that one.
Okay. Well, in any case,
good.
At one point, Romeo ends up talking to a statue of Shakespeare in a park, and Shakespeare says that Romeo's situation reminds him of an excellent play that he wrote. And now he's like, oh, how does it end? He's like, everyone dies! He's like, well, that sucks. We're not doing that. And they don't.
Yeah.
Next
That's
question.
shows you the value of being self-aware, which is the real moral.
Good moral. So, yeah, what is our next
Learn
question?
from the mistakes of
Next
fiction
question.
are doomed to repeat them.
Next question I see is, you can see the gnome? Yes, we can. Lewis, thank you for writing in.
Not a question. Oatmeal, not even a word.
I like that. I like oak meat.
It was just macro. Okay, are you referring to the thing with David the Gnome saying, "How about I wreck your shit," or something like that?
I believe he's referring to the duck roll, a regional delicacy.
I don't think so. I remember it being a video.
Maybe it was an animated GIF or GIF.
Can you see the gnome?
Another good question, Lewis. As we've previously discussed, yes, you can see the gnome.
Room 5, because that has a tree in it, and gnomes turn into trees in David the Gnome.
Okay.
And David Whitman wrote in. Yes.
All right, David Whitman.
Hey, I'm 21 and I haven't had my first kiss yet. Any advice?
Another good question, David. Thank you for writing back.
I thought this was his first one.
I'm not following these in order.
Yeah.
Well, what was his first one then?
I think
someone answered it or something because it disappeared. Maybe he erased it.
Anyway, David, I would recommend before having your first kiss with a person, practice on your hand.
Should you make your hand into a face and kiss that?
No, that's gross.
Okay. What if you have access to a time machine? Is it appropriate
Then you
to
just
go
have your
back
first
in
kiss
time
with...
and kiss yourself?
I don't know if it's appropriate, but certainly what everyone would do.
I don't think I would do it.
Why not?
Well, I wouldn't see the point, frankly.
Well, I mean, it could progress beyond kissing, but
And,
I think this is
and
beyond the scope of David's question.
Is this girl here implied to have kissed herself?
And I would think, also, hold on to your soul too, because you've only got 3.
Oh, wait a minute. 3 souls? Why? Who has 3 souls?
Because people have souls under their feet, and their left and right foot, and those can be damaged.
Well, you make a valid point.
Those are indeed souls.
Is your mental.
And speaking of feet, Lewis asks, his feet are next to the shovel handle? Yes, they are, Lewis. Right again.
I'm just going to get rid of the ones that aren't.
It didn't have a question mark at the end, but I'm glad that you implied.
What duck roll is.
And as I
duck roll. Yeah, duck with wheels. Bait and switch roll from 4chan. A word filter removed and put on the site. Explained he set up a filter to change the word egg to duck. Whenever someone posted the word egg roll, it was changed to duck roll. After seeing the filter in action, users started posting links to an image of a duck, wooden wheels, as a bait and switch, advertising the link to be an exciting post. While no exact date has been pinpointed, Lurkmore Wiki says the phenomenon began in mid-November 2006, but the earliest archived 4chan thread with a duck roll appeared on December 12, 2006.
But it wasn't until 2007 that people made a video version of it.
Okay, so I must have gotten in later then. Mallard duck with truck tires instead of feet, while dark materials the Picard song plays in the background. Is that the one with Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise being lyrics?
Oh, I like that one. I don't know if...
To the finest crew in stock.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Well, that's
Picard of the USS... Oh, we're not doing that.
for me. Except I guess Picard does have a black visor. In the...
You're thinking of that guy with the visor.
I might be thinking of Excel Saga's parody of Star Trek. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Or no, wait. Not Excel Saga. Starts with P. Panty Pony Dash. Pretty sure. They were actually aliens, though, and just had some sort of hologram or something that made them look human. Or it was just...
The overall image is less like the Duck and Maze than I'd remembered it being.
Well, the original one apparently had wooden wheels, so it was closer.
Okay.
And then the one with truck tires was later. Users would then
Do we have
post
an image of the original one?
to the video. This was antecedent to users linking. What did you say?
Do we have an image of the original duck roll image?
No, I don't see one. I'm going to search for duck roll on Google.
Perhaps it's lost to the ages, as they say.
Have you tried looking yourself?
I looked at that Know Your Meme article.
I get a bunch of ducks with truck tires. We have a large duck.
It's quite the duck conundrum.
Duck. 6 wheels. There's some egg roll type things made from duck. But I do not see one with wooden wheels as is attested in the article. So they may be making that up. Because I don't see a source on that. Well, I didn't really look. Look it up yourself if you care. You probably spent more time on this than it deserves. But I don't know. I mean, it is a significant thing in our cultural history, the Rickroll, and it's.
I think it's going to stand the test of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I was thinking of making one the other day because I now have access to YouTube's choose your own thumbnail feature because I'm a respected user somehow. So I could make it look like it wasn't a Rickroll, but something else.
I think that's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be so subtle. And now there's pictures of umbrellas and Darth Vader with an umbrella. What was I doing? Where were we? You guys aren't very good at keeping on task, on track.
Basically, we were asking questions, and I think we basically covered pretty much all the questions except for...
There's a couple more in the list here. Why don't we just handle those real quick, one by one?
All right. Okay.
Bring up the next one on the big board.
Canard Trung was right there. How could you pass it up?
Wonderful question, Lewis. You're, of course, referring to me saying it's quite the duck conundrum. That was, in fact, a reference to a type of puzzle pioneered in the MIT Mystery Hunt by Dan Katz.
Oh, isn't he in relation to Don Katz?
I have no idea.
I invited Don Katz here, but I'm not sure if he'll watch. He's a philanthropist, lives in the area. I had a nice lunch with him one time, and he took me to a meditation group he was in later, different day. Didn't really, wasn't my style, but like an intelligent, friendly person.
That's nice. Anyway, to get back on topic, the duck conundrum puzzles are characterized by a long series of difficult-to-follow instructions, usually involving a duck.
Yeah. Sort of a snipe hunt kind of thing.
There usually is an actual solution to get by carefully going through the steps of the process.
All right. In order to put something on the screen, I'm going to screen share a picture of a duck looking at thing.
Wonderful. So what's the
wow.
next question?
Next question is, this is Ashley. How much longer is this episode filming?
Thanks for writing in, Ashley.
You don't have to say that every time.
I like to promote a friendly atmosphere here on our program.
Well, I like to promote efficiency.
Well, Ashley, the answer is that it will depend on whether Jack gets his way with efficiency.
I don't know that it will depend on that. Efficiency just means being able to waste less time or do more wasting in the time you have or something. I don't know. And then this is a URL, not even a sentence, really. And then
it has a question mark.
It does, but it's not at the end. It's not.
I assume it's a link to some important video about maize or ducks or
I'm going to
drums.
you, and we'll cover that later. You should really put that sort of thing in the showcase. I think is the appropriate.
All right.
Hangouts.
And next, Lewis Powell writes, the Mad Magazine parody? Yes, Lewis, the Mad Magazine parody.
Lewis, just join the freaking hangout already.
I can't invite him. The button doesn't work.
I already invited him twice.
that's why the button doesn't work, and that's fair. I mean,
That's not why. And then
and
he
that was
sends in the duck roll link again.
Good question.
What is a termite's favorite breakfast food? Lady Gaga's spare bed? I don't know. No, sending the duck
SpaghettiOs.
link again. We already got that. Star Black instead of Star Trek. Oh, that was the Mad Magazine parody. I see.
That's a good question.
Duck Roll wasn't a video? I don't know.
Right, well, Duck Roll wasn't a video, but then it became one.
Yeah, not a question.
Thank you again for writing in. We'll see you next time.
Not all question marks go at the end, do they? And here he is using the Spanish question mark style. Arguably, they are both at the end, but one of them is at the end when read upside down.
Wow, look at that. He sure knows his Unicode tricks.
I should get rid of this.
don't, no, not the duck. I've been looking at it for inspiration.
Well, here's an even more inspirational duck, because this one went on to be king.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. I don't remember, but I took that screenshot, so I would know.
Oh, man. Congratulations.
What a duck. And next up, Lewis Powell asks, oatmeal is the favorite breakfast food for termites?
I'm going to say yes.
Lewis, you're quite the cut-up. Thank you for gracing us with another of your jokes.
And thank you for writing in that question.
Yeah. This is an obnoxious podcast.
This is a podcast?
Well, isn't it? What is it?
I don't really know what this is. I just joined because I got the invite and I didn't have anything better to do at that moment.
Rabbit season.
It's more like a Zoom broadcast.
You know, the rabbit duck illusion is probably behind the popularity of the rabbit season, duck season bit in Looney Tunes.
And
here's another adorable duck from.
That looks like a swan to me.
Oh, well, it might be. How about this?
Possibly a young swan, which I believe is called a cygnet.
This is from the anime Da Da Da, about a magical flying baby from outer space.
Is it based on the song by the same name?
By the same name? I don't think there's anyone named that. If there was, it would be very confusing. And no.
Alright, so Lewis, I hope that answers your question about not all question marks go at the end, do they?
And I'm just going to put in some other pictures of ducks here.
and
Let's see, Lewis Powell also asks, oatmeal is the favorite breakfast food for termites? Yes, it is. I believe we've covered that already.
Why does he keep asking the same questions?
because I mean,
That's
he's got to have
a
reassurance.
question.
Oh, that's offensive. Hold on.
And I see Ashley writes in saying, didn't the Hangout description say this was a no-face Hangout? Did it?
Well, there aren't any, what I meant by that was,
I think my face was visible in this for a while.
Ben's face.
And mine was too.
I don't remember seeing either your faces be on the showy thing. If so, I apologize deeply. I didn't intend that.
Hopefully, all our viewers enjoyed seeing my face. And thank you
mine
for saying,
too.
oh, Ashley.
She probably means just faces in the pictures I'm putting in. Or like that duck's face.
Or the cat face.
The cat face. Oh, this is hilarious. This is a picture of a duck that I drew ages ago, deliberately badly.
Wait, this one?
No, hold on. Where is the picture window? It's saying quack.
That is recognizably a duck.
Except that there is no you.
Yeah.
How many ages ago was that?
Spelled without a U in it is an unconsciously deliberate reference to page 30 from Maze.
Well, that's wonderful, Jack. But let's move on and see if we can tackle the rest of these questions.
There are no more questions.
I see 5 more questions.
Where are these questions coming from? All right. Did you solve today's yet? No.
No, but thank you for writing in, Ben Heaton.
Except that it's like the Gordian knot, and the solution is just
to cut in twain. Yes.
Now, in this video, we've only really covered rooms 1 through 26.
Though, I mean, if you cut a knot in twain, especially a big knot, you'd actually end up with a bunch of pieces.
Thus solving your problem.
Kind of. Depending on what the problem was.
Not enough pieces.
Why not increase the number of points? Oatmeal is the favorite breakfast food for termites.
Good question, and yes, it still is.
Who is the narrator? It's you, the reader, and the devil, and God, and probably Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, and I don't know.
I thought it was the Blue King.
And I'm going with the umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, that's in there, too. The personal pronoun I, maybe. I mean, a lot of things. It's kind of complicated. I guess the eyes are the narrator, sort of. I mean, it's all sort of. The idea is
the eyes of the narrator of the soul.
The idea is that it's like it's like a koan. You're not really supposed to answer the question so much as mentally deconstruct it. Ideally, I think you should do so using language rather than not using language, but I preference illumination above insight, I suppose. Or if you want a non-illumination based metaphor here, which is understandable, given all the darkness versus light nonsense. You know, I think it's good to blow away the smoke and use words.
No smoke, only mirrors.
Right, mirrors are better than smoke. Smoke is bad for you.
And next, Lewis Powell writes in asking, or the guide rather?
Yeah.
The question was, same answer.
What is this thing and what is it called? It's understanding and it's called an umbrella. And that is the end of episode 1 of the Maze Report. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jack Masters. You guys say your names now if you want or not. That's and it's not actually named that though. And I call him by
stage name,
which just means room, I think, in Greek or whatever, ironically.
And a big thank you to all our listeners, especially those of you who wrote in with questions. Keep them coming.
Indeed, and we probably will be back because there's a lot more of this.